Well, hello everybody out there in the YouTube universe. Welcome to the Selective Imagery channel, our feature presentation through what we call our Photo Lounge live experience. This we don't usually do on Wednesday, but as some of you may know, Chuck Egan, who kind of like started many of the group that is involved here. Used to do a Wednesday and a Saturday night show, and the Wednesday show was at noon to facilitate the European audience. And we haven't had a show on a Wednesday for many, many years, and we're hoping that we get a good group and showing of people from Europe and beyond. And we welcome you and appreciate you stopping by and being here with us. And obviously this is being recorded, so if you're unable to make it live and join us in the chat, you can watch it, later on tonight or what have you. So first off, today you're going to meet someone who spent over 2 decades chasing secret moments of hornbills in the rainforest. And as you know, that's definitely not me. It's this guy right here. Sanjitpaal Singh is a Malaysian nature, wildlife, and conservation photographer who has hauled gear through mud. He's like the mailman, for the camera club. Through mud and rain and pre-dawn darkness, he's out there to document the intricacies and the lives of Malaysia's enigmatic hornbills. This is a journey that's earned him multiple international awards. Together with his wife, Dr. Ravinder Kaur, he co-leads Gaia, a Malaysia-based conservation effort where local communities take the lead. They track the hornbill nests, they help install artificial nests, restore natural tree cavities, and they ultimately serve as the guardians of the rainforest. And if you'd like to explore more of their work, then I'm going to put up a few links that you can go to that you'll see on the screen here. ExploreGaia.com and MalaysiaHornbill.com. And then we'll have a link later on to Sanjit's website that you can view his work and help support the cause. We'll show that at the end of the show. But tonight's presentation is different. He's someone that obviously pursues the shot, but he can sit absolutely still, put himself in a meditation state, and just wait patiently for the forest to introduce and reveal the subject matter at hand. And he puts together, wonderful stories. Some things aren't always pleasant. Something, you have the real life when you're out there. He's witnessed it when things are a little bit brutal. He's witnessed when things are absolutely beautiful. And he turns all those moments that he sees into a collective experience. And he's kind enough to be a friend of this channel and to share that experience with us. And this definitely is a world premiere event being shown on this channel. And those of us who are on this channel all the time, appreciate him even considering to show anything with our channel. We're very, very small, but we're very passionate about wildlife photography and what we do as well. And we know that he is definitely super passionate about what he does. So he shows you stories of the connection between the wildlife and how it interacts with the people that live there, how they survive, how they adapt to the changes in the environment. And, he says he occasionally wishes for better gear. Everybody raise their hand if they want better gear, and a little more hard drive space as well. He'll be the first person that's going to tell you none of this happens by himself. Every milestone shared with a great Gaia team that he works with behind the scenes. And he's also become a father. So that's obviously a joyous occasion in his life. and presents its own set of challenges, as we know. But it's the best award he's ever gotten out of all his awards. And today he's going to take us into one of his journeys, a story that selective imagery and the people who view the channel get to hear first before anyone else. And it's an extreme honor. And we want to welcome Sanjit to the show. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me and hosting the world premiere of something truly strange.
Can't be any stranger than us, right?
We're an interesting breed.
Yes, we're an interesting breed. But just we'll just what how before we don't want to give away anything here, but let's just ask you a quick few questions. How much time did your research and all the work you did behind the scenes, how long did it take for you to put together this presentation and iron it out? And I'm sure that you're going to have other audiences that are going to see this at a later date, because it's extremely important that people see what you've done.
I can actually summarize this. This particular journey started out in February 2025, and shooting, just photographing, documenting in terms of photos and videos, it was 4 months after, and it was close to New Year's Day that I finally managed to get a pre-selection and a draft layout for a book. And that pre-selection alone contains over 6,000 images.
Okay.
Wow. So hard drive space, oh, man, it's something that's truly needed. But we tend to manage, and I've got multiple hard drives here and there, managed to organize them to photos, videos, those that are in raw form and those that are in pre-selected form. But it didn't end there. One of my longest expeditions was in 2019, where we spent 45 days straight with a critically endangered helmeted hornbills like this guy. I never knew I'd be able to even come close to the record. And up to today, I spent close to 60 days with this particular subject.
Perseverance and patience and a lot of energy. You must have some good granola bars to keep you going. I don't know. I wouldn't last 6 days. I don't know about 60.
The truth is, I'm just plain stubborn. I need to get that shot. That shot that keeps you awake at night. It's like, why didn't this happen at this time? When the light hit just right, and your subject is portraying a certain behavior. You were slightly a couple of degrees off, or there was a branch in the way, or you're just being eaten by mosquitoes at that time. You could not focus on what's happening in the camera. So I'm stubborn to get those kind of shots, and that keeps me going. And I'm just always hungry to know how the story ends, but being in this field for over 2 decades, it never truly ends. And that's the beauty of nature. Nature tends to repeat itself.
No, absolutely. But Sanjay, as they always said, all creative process required to be a little bit mad, correct? So I think we are all a bit mad.
We're all a little cuckoo.
Exactly. So let's go through the welcoming people in the chat and obviously the panel, right? We have invited guests as well, distinguished guests, Mr. Mark here.
Yeah, Mark, would you like to share how you know the gentleman with a nicely trimmed beard, and what kind of trouble you've gotten in with him, and how you support him?
Yeah. Hi everyone. Thank you very much for having me here. It's great to be able to speak with you all, and I look forward to Sanjit's presentation too. I do have beard envy, Sanjit. I'm sorry. I'm trying to emulate you, but it's not quite there. I'm very conscious I don't want to give too much away, but I have known Sanjit now for what, almost 15 years, 14, 15 years. Working at Chester Zoo gives us a huge opportunity to engage with a lot of organisations across the globe. We're very conscious that we can learn from the guys working in the field, and we can bring a huge skill set of our own as well. And that's really and truthfully where we first met. We were working in Sabah in Kinabatangan. And we were working on artificial nest cavities in the Kinabatangan reserve there for hornbills. It was identified that there weren't sufficient large enough trees for the large-bodied hornbill to nest in, and the only way that those populations were going to be sustained into the future was to create something artificial. And lo and behold, that's something we've been doing for a long time, and we've been very successful with a number of species. So yeah, we started to work out there and met Sanjit and Ravinder and the rest of the Explore Gaia team. And working with other zoos from across the globe, really started to understand more and more about these species, and had successful nesting rhino hornbills, and we've had other species exploring and using their boxes as well. And the great thing is that determination that Sanjit's got to get that perfect shot. For all of those 6,000 shots that he's got, there's 5,000 that tell us something. They might not be to everybody else's creative eye, they might not be that perfect shot, but there is always something that can be learned from them. The behavioral repertoire of these things is huge. Everything in nature, there's so much to learn and understand about the natural world, and every image that is captured, whilst it might not be perfect, it tells us something. And that's what's so great about working with these guys, is they are an encyclopedia of knowledge in here, and then the photos tell us everything all over again as well. So yeah, so that's how come we've been working with these guys for a while now.
Well, we welcome you to the show. We're very happy that you were able to join us and support Sanjit, and nice to hear your involvement in these activities. I mean, they're very, very important, and you know, it's important that the message gets out. And you know, I had a little bit of, Gustavo and I had a little opportunity to kind of look at some of the material, and I'll just say, you know, blown away would be an understatement. And you know, we're both highly respectful of you know, everything that Sanjit does, and his wife, and the community, you know, that he's involved with, the communities that he's involved with. And Luis, we're going to jump over to you to say hello and you talk about a world traveler. I mean,
I'm just an amateur photographer that likes to travel. That's in short. And I was always interested in the biology. So I do a bit of bird photography, but I like everything. So I always take a macro with me and another lens for smaller animals and so on. But I do it as an hobby. I'm also a volunteer guide here for a nature reserve as well. And I do some nature population counts of reptiles and amphibians. So I do my bit on the side, but I do it as a volunteer and as an amateur. And I've been in Malaysia before, so I'm very curious about this particular presentation as well. So you're looking for it.
You're gonna enjoy it. And we will do a quick hello to the people in the chat, and let's see who we have in here. We have, you know, some of the regulars. We got Mr. Stewart, David Stewart here, and Paul, aka Scubarazzi.
Yeah.
And let's see, we got Anita Stewart's here, and make sure we don't miss anybody here. I'm scrolling down the list. We have Rakesh. Rakesh is here. Good to see you, Rakesh, and Martin. And of course, we got Ted here, aka Art Bear, very good friend of myself, and Chuck as well. A good guy with the channel. And we've got Robert Varner's here. And I think I hit everybody. If I missed anybody, Gustavo, chime in. And I think we have everybody so far. And
I'll keep an eye on the chat as well here on the side.
What we're going to do from here is I'm going to show, for those of you that did not look at the trailer video that we did.
Let's show the agenda first quickly here.
Okay, go ahead.
So that people know what to do, because we shared an agenda that was slightly different yesterday. So I'm going to share here quickly, and you may have to bring that one here. So this is obviously the agenda for today. So we have finished now the welcome, the live stream. What have you been doing up to? And so we're going to go straight into Sanjay's presentation. After Sanjay's presentation and the questions, please do stay, because we're going to go through the regular features in our meeting in terms of news and rumors, announcements and releases. Today, I have something about old gear and new gear that I want to share, particularly for hand-holding long telephoto lenses. And then we can go into some photo sharing. We have a few photos, and then we can discuss, obviously, the news and upcoming streams. So that's what we have for the time being, Jeff. So with that, we can go back to Mr. Sanjay.
Yeah, and for now, we're going to do the Q&A after the presentation. So hold on to your questions till the end, and then when we're ready to do the Q&A, put in QQQ prior to your typing, so we know you're asking a question, and all the questions will be addressed in the order in which we find them in the chat, and Sanjay will do his best to answer your questions. So from here, we're going to just show the little clips that Sanjay was kind enough to send me. We kind of like put them together, and we'll show those very, very quick, and then that'll flow right into him starting his presentation, and we'll be off, as they say, we'll be off and running. So let me share my screen here, and then we will go and do these quick video clips. And give me a second.
And type your comments. I will sharing your comments as we go along.
Yep.
There is a monster in this world, but not the kind with teeth that you can count.
So Jeff, can you hear me? We cannot hear you.
You cannot hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes. So So we watched the video. I watched the video with no sound.
You had no sound?
No.
No.
Okay.
See, I presume you mute yourself.
I muted myself and I muted the video?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I wasn't sure.
You want to do it again?
Yes.
We'll do it again. Sorry, folks. I'm trying to mute myself because I got construction going on the other side of this wall that I'm in. So I'm trying to be respectful and not irritate.
He's building a new camera cabinet.
Yeah.
You know, so. And let me get this back to the beginning.
Now we have sound.
There is a monster in this world, but not the kind with teeth that you can count, but the kind that you learn to live with. And it hides in plain sight, in what we build, in what we ignore, in what we call normal. And I followed it into places where nobody looks, where wild hearts survive beside our noise. And then I realized the monster isn't out there anymore. It was right in front of me.
And now the presentation for The Monster by Sanjitpaal Singh, an award-winning nature, wildlife, and conservation photographer. So let's all give him a warm greeting. Well, at least we don't have to do a take 3.
Very good.
Hey, this is Hollywood. You got to have more than one take. But Sanjit, whenever you're ready, we'll let you bring up the pitch, and we will start.
I am ready. Is everything? Is the slide open up on your side?
Yep. I will.
Alrighty.
On here.
All good. And a little bit of introduction to
Where to
the
go?
monster.
Come on. Come on. Technical difficulties. We're going to maximize the size here.
Yep, looking good.
All righty.
So it's pretty much 1:30 in the morning here, so I'm gonna think positive. So I've been a wildlife photographer for over 2 decades now, primarily a photographer, and I started out in the world of media. And one thing about finding myself where we are today really is a lot of experimenting. I was a photographer that covered a lot of stories. We did from entertainment, travel, cultures, arts, food, architecture, and then branched out into the media world where we did post-production. I sat in the studio for 3 years. Those were pretty much the rough times, and it was really hard to land a job here in Malaysia. And eventually went into advertising. So if you do look at these pictures, it would have a little bit of these influences of advertising and where the subject sits in the photo in terms for it to either be utilized in print, magazine covers, billboards, or even coffee table books. And I tend to adapt that same principle into my videos as well. But I don't edit videos anymore, simply because there's no hard drive space. But throughout the journey, we had, me in particular, I had enough of clients, just breathing down my neck. And every time I needed to find peace, I would go into the forest. So there's this one particular day, the editor called me into the room and it's like, hey, you know what, you got a knack in this wildlife thing, and why don't you pursue it? Lo and behold, I did. And eventually I found myself deep in the forest, photographing this huge turkey looking like bird. Didn't really know what it was, didn't suppose that it was the prettiest bird. And it just went crazy. It was just circulating around the world. And I didn't know how important it was at that time. And if we were to Google it today, it's still being circulated. Of course, you know, part of the photographer's oath is we wish we are credited, and sometimes it's not, or sometimes it's credited to another body. But it's okay, because the true meaning of those images are still being held strong. So the monster is not about me, it's not about we, it's not about what these species are, but it's about the current times that we live in. A little bit about where I am currently is, if you see that little circle somewhere in the middle on the right of the frame, that's pretty much where I am. I'm in Malaysia, and we do conservation works in Borneo. We're starting to do works hopefully in both states in Borneo. Borneo is a large island occupied by 3 countries, Indonesia, Brunei, and Malaysia. And we work in several states on the peninsula of Malaysia as well. We're a very small team, but we are fortunate enough to have great local collaborators all throughout the country, and they help us in providing information on what these birds are up to currently. So, amazing thing about Malaysia is that we have ancient rainforests, and in the current global state that we are in, we are still losing this rainforest. I mean, it does not need to be directly impacting the rainforest. If we look into historical logging, that directly impacts the rainforest, but there could be external factors that affects this ancient rainforest as well. We, for the past couple of years, we've noticed, and we've been trying to document the change of weather patterns that have been happening within the region. We have ample of sunshine. We are placed somewhere in the equator, so we have ample of sunshine. However, we have ample of rain as well. Occasionally, during the peak of monsoon seasons, we will get flash floods in the city, and that can be rather uncomfortable. So every time that we're going out for a shoot or we're planning our conservation activities, we need to factor in the weather and make adjustments to that. All these photos are taken in Malaysia. All of them are taken by me, unless I specify it. Large trees is something that is truly magnificent. And when we travel into islands of Malaysia, and a lot of these islands, they are habited. However, the landscape is still intact. And this is where you still can find these ancient large trees that is not affected by either the weather or direct human impact. They are isolated enough, yet they are still accessible. And when we look at structures like this, for me in particular, working with hornbill conservation all throughout Malaysia, we tend to try to spot the cavities in the trees. So on the lower left portion, just before the first fork where the Y is, there is somewhat of a cavity there. And this is something that is of interest to us for the conservation of hornbills. But of course, at times, cavities are occupied by other species like the red giant flying squirrels, monitor lizards, and at times even stingless bees. So these wildlife species that occupy these cavities do give us kind of a clue that not only that they are still present, but this tree is in a healthy form that could be fit for a hornbill to nest in. Now, because we are ancient rainforests, we have large trees, these cavities can be pretty high up. And these cavities not only provide hornbills with safe nesting opportunities, although we see this from photographer's perspective, it could be almost eye level. But mind you, this cavity is over 30 meters off the ground and it's way on the top of a limestone hill. This is one of the most prehistoric hornbill species of Asia. It is called the helmeted hornbill, and you wouldn't believe me. It is, you wouldn't believe me. I would need to stand up for this, but it's almost over 150 meters if you stretch this bird from tip to tip, from the tip of his beak to the tip of his tail. This is a male that has come to feed the female that has enclosed itself in that broken off branch within the trunk of the tree. And the female would stay there for about 5 months. And she would be there to care for a young. The young, which will later on hatch and fledge. Large trees like this is very hard to find, because imagine that a bird pretty much about my size, the female of that bird is in the cavity of the tree. That means she's nesting in the trunk. There's no way in anyone's right mind they will seal themselves in for over 5 months. It's kind of like entombing yourself in a prison. Watching this and having documented this for over many years, it tends to give you a different perspective of what confinement is. Lo and behold, this ancient tree is also an endangered species. So we have a critically endangered hornbill species nesting in an endangered species of trees. Another large hornbill species that we have here in Malaysia is the great hornbill. And of course, we share this across regions, and you would find this species in India as well. But here you see this great hornbill precariously balancing itself at the edge of a branch. Now, this photo was taken on the island of Langkawi, which is on the, I need my little map, northwestern part of Malaysia. And they're particularly active in a certain time of year, where if we're lucky, we see over 40 of them roosting or feeding on a fig tree. These numbers are dwindling because when we speak to locals there, they say, hey, 40 is small. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I spotted more than 100. This could be caused by various impacts. Either it's tourism to the island or development that's currently happening to the island. But photos like this tells us a story on how very fine or very thinly everything hinges on a balance, even the way that is tossing the fruit that it will later consume. Of course, we have this beautiful female rhinoceros hornbill, an iconic species throughout our regions and also in Indonesia. This one in particular is the Buceros rhinoceros species, photographed in Peninsular Malaysia. She too is one of the larger hornbill species that we have here in Malaysia. We have the wreath hornbill. This is a male, just getting very comfortable on a branch, and you can tell that this bird is getting very comfortable because he's got his head tucked in a little bit, being high up on the ridge. This photograph was taken off a ridge, and it's getting very comfortable because it was a breezy day. I remember this time I had a R5 with me with a 800-5.6, and you get this beautiful depth of the forest canopy that's way beyond on the other side. These hornbills are very strong flyers. You can hear their wing beats if they're above you about 2 kilometers away. Another species that is ultimately colorful and has recently captured global attention as well, because we tend to see less and less of these birds. Of course, we're investigating what's going on, and a lot of groundwork that is going to go into this bird. But this male seems as though he got into someone's makeup purse because of all the reds, yellows, blues, whites, blacks. It's a striking species. Occasionally, we get the plain pouch hornbills on the northern regions of the peninsula of Malaysia, and this species does not exist in Borneo. Just like the great hornbills, just like the wreath hornbills, they are excellent flyers and they would cover large areas. Now imagine if you can hear a bird that is above you from 2 kilometers away. Now amplify that by the thousands. When these birds fly down in the thousands, the forest floor will rumble. And we had the opportunity to be there. Here's the thing about being a photographer. I had to dig up this photo because it was taken late in the 2000s or mid 2000s, somewhere between 2006 to 2008. It was taken with a very old camera with a 3-point focusing system that is amazing, the amount of work that we had to put in to get precise, sharp photos in conditions like these. The white crown hornbills are rather peculiar species. They are the more carnivorous of all hornbill species that we have in Malaysia. They could fly past you, they could land right next to you, but you wouldn't hear them. But of course, a lot of our hornbill species here are unique in their own way. They have their own traits, and I just can't have enough time to document them all. Every time we find a hornbill nest, that is our gold mine, because not only they allow us to see in depth into their intricate and mysterious lives, but they also give us clues on what is next for our conservation activities. So looking for hornbill's nest is what we always prioritize in Malaysia. Black hornbills kind of also like the rockstar hornbills because they have this very coarse call. Now, the male and the female. The female's on the left, the male's on the right. For this species, we'll notice that the male has got this beautiful, very clean white beak and casque. The female, of course, she's got some eyeshadow and some lipstick going on there, but her casque, don't mind the reflection, is predominantly darker in color. The bushy-crested hornbill, this hornbill species, they travel in flocks, and it's rather strange because I've yet to encounter a flock of even numbers. I usually encounter a flock of 5s, 7s, or 9s. They're always in odd numbers. I'm yet to encounter a flock of even numbers. But hornbills, if you notice the eyelashes, birds generally do not have hair like as humans do. I mean, I'm glad to have my first layer of defense against the leeches and mosquitoes. But over time, these birds have evolved for their eyelashes, or their eyelashes have evolved from feathers. These are modified feathers. These birds have large eyes, perfect for hunting, and they need to protect their eyes from something. The oriental pied hornbill. Now, these are the common species that we'll find in both regions, either on the peninsula or Borneo. These hornbills are not afraid to come to your village or be age-preferring species. They can even come close to the cities. And some of these oriental pied hornbills have been documented in the cities. And they are one of the most resilient of all hornbill species. So whenever we find an international union using a logo of a hornbill, they most likely would lean towards an oriental pied hornbill because of their resilience. So here's the question. What if, from all the historical documents, all the cultural beliefs and narratives that are currently available, what if these ancient birds are being challenged? Now, their challenge is dependent on our wants and needs. So what if we were to pair a rhinoceros hornbill, now this is a female, with a great hornbill. So if we notice the rhinoceros hornbill, she has one large casque. So she's a Buceros rhinoceros, a single casque hornbill. And then the great hornbill, the Buceros bicornis, which will have two pointy two pointy edges on a single casque. What if we were to pair both of these species? Would we get something like this? Now, I'm glad and a little bit disappointed that we might not encounter this anymore somewhere in the rainforest. And it's amazing what Adobe can do these days. I just open up Photoshop. I want to try Triceratops in a rainforest, and it just spits out this image for me. Oh, only because I've never found one in the forest, or perhaps not yet. However, there are scientific papers written of the pairing between a Buceros species. These are Buceros species, and this is what we got. Now, it's either red or yellow. It's got this orange tinge on him. This is a male, and we can tell clearly it's a male because from its morphological difference from a female, that it's got this pointy black marks that a typical great hornbill would have, and the red eye. And this was photographed on top of a hill in between a couple of cities. And from the top of the hill, we can clearly see the development that's been going around. Just like every hornbill, for them to survive, they have to find nests. And we were very fortunate from leads by local communities that they say, hey, the nest is probably here, or I've seen this bird do this and that. And so we had to stake it out. I've been tracking this bird for over 3 years now, perhaps going into the 4th or the 5th year. It's been so long that sometimes you lose count. And the thousands and thousands of images that we get. But here's the thing about this hornbill. The will to live outweighs the ability to die. Although he may look different, he's found a nest. He's returning to the nest because he's found a mate. And because he's found a mate and he goes into breeding season, he needs to bring back the proteins for possibly a chick that's about to hatch, or he may even be portraying himself as a viable male who is fit to hunt. So here, once again, another eye level shot, because you just got to climb that ridge or that hill and try to get that shot of the behavior. But what I was going for here is to document this bird in almost every possible angle. So if we need a guide of how to photograph a hornbill in 100 different angles, just send me an email and I could most probably give you a couple of tips. But what it's got here in its beak is a chick, and most probably a baby bird that has raided another bird's nest to bring back to the nest. What's interesting is that he has paired up with a female rhinoceros hornbill. And in this photo, on the left, slightly higher, just below his neck, you can see her beak peering out a little bit because she just received food from him. Now, I didn't climb anywhere to get the shot because there's nowhere you can go and get the shot. It was over time that the hornbill trusted me with the drone. And of course, the drone kept its distance. It was weeks of trial and error. And just one fine day, he managed to stay there long enough for us to get this photo. Now, a lot has changed. The landscape in the background has changed. And it's very unfortunate that we can't repeat this photo, or we can't go back and kind of like peek on what's going on there. These birds could still be around the area, And for me to get out there and document them even in more detail will just require a lot of scheduling. And it's quite a bummer that all my primes are not usable anymore. So what I have now is very basic, and I'm just running and gunning with that. Anything that would give me that shot, as long as it's still working, you just got to go out there and slug it off. Now, what if, with 2 question marks this time, let's play mad scientist a little bit. What if we took a black hornbill male and paired it with a female oriental pied hornbill? Now, the black hornbill is a forest specialist, lowland forest. They could nest pretty low, or at times they could choose a nesting site that's pretty high. These 2 birds are almost similar in size. They both come from the Antacoceros family, but one is deeper in forest and the other is an edge-preferring species. So if you put them side by side, they could look almost similar, the male and the female. Male being on the left, female being on the right. We'll most probably get one of these. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's like it's a rock dove. We all rock stars in our own way. But here's the thing about hornbills. They are endearing species. They are very endearing species. Whether it's within the breeding season, if it's in the courtship season, you would tend to see these hornbills always together. They are known as a monogamous species. They would feed each other, but of course the behavior would change going into the breeding and nesting seasons. The male, always very hardworking, and by right, he has to carry his weight at certain seasons, because when the female goes into nest, she sacrifices so much, and there's no way we can put into words of how much she sacrifices during the nesting season. These hornbills are also caring for their young, and they would care for their young depending on when the young will reach sexual maturity, or at certain times where there's a bachelor flock, the young might play the dating game a little bit earlier. And this is one of the first records that we've ever documented of a wild helmeted hornbill on the first day when it fledged from the nest. Here, the male, adult male on the right, he's already lost his long, flamboyant tail feathers, but we can see the size of the chick on the left, sorry, that he's almost as large as his dad. And these are endearing moments. It's beautiful to witness, and at times you got to remind yourself, hey, I'm a photographer, I need to shoot this first, and then watch it again later to appreciate it, because that mindset is to get the shot. But at times when you're in the forest, when the magic unfolds, you just want to put your camera aside and just take it all in. A lot of lessons, humanity, a lot of things that we do as humans, we learn from nature, and a lot of times is almost impossible to get photos like this. Unfortunately for these birds, they're being hunted, and a lot of times that these guys that go out for the helmeted hornbill, they might park themselves at a fig tree and they'll shoot anything that moves, and other hornbill species might fall victim to that. It is unfortunate, but trust me, this particular one still had his head on when I took the photo. What he's doing here is he turned back to preen the feathers on his back, and it was very symbolic to me. A lot of times that we wouldn't take this kind of photos because we want to show the bird in his full glory and his beauty and all his details and his beautiful eyelashes. Lo and behold, you wouldn't know what narrative would present itself while you're in the forest. A bird preening itself, just looking away, brings us a narrative that shows us what is being hunted for. If we were to talk a little bit about the breeding season, the hornbill, we've gone black and white a little bit here because I just think it's absolutely beautiful. And the format here is 16:9. So the courtship behavior of hornbill is a very complex dating game. And they have to do this every single season. At times, we have documented particular species nesting twice a year. So the male has got to work double time. The male would present the female with a fruit, right, at their early stages in life when they've just met. And if she accepts, that is merely the engagement. And at times the females will play hard to get. Perhaps he is not a fit hunter, or perhaps he's more suited for another female, or perhaps she's more suited for another male. So the males have to put in a lot of work. It's a very complex dating game. And eventually, if that same female returns the fruit to him, that is the exchange of rings. So here is a hornbill that he's caught a bug, and he's to present this bug to the female. She's slightly above him, looking down. He's looking away because he's a little skittish that I was in the vicinity. This tender partnership will then be continued throughout their entire lives. When the female is ready to nest, she would go into a cavity, and a lot of times these cavities are hidden somewhere in the forest. It's almost impossible to find them. Not only that there's a cavity in the tree, but it is up to him to deliver sealing material. Depending on the species that we have documented, oriental pied hornbills coming to the ground or to the riverbank and collect mud to present to the female, which is ready in the cavity. And what she'll do is from the inside, she will seal the entrance until just a narrow window, just enough for her to reach the tip of the beak out to receive food. Right? She's entombed herself somewhere high up in the cavity, in the canopy of the forest. What really strange here is this particular guy, I'm just going to call him Mike, right? Why not? That's a nice name. I'm going to call him Mike. Mike here has found, I could call him Mark. Mike here has picked up sealing material from a construction site. And it is a mix of concrete with sand and mud, because certain times when it rains, everything just gets washed off. So this is just a runoff from a construction site that is compiled. He was lucky enough to find some that have hardened already. And he makes his journey towards the nest. This is where it gets a little bit strange. For the female, at this very time, she did not choose a cavity that is in a natural setting. She's chosen a drain pipe to nest in. So this concrete structure behind her is a storm drain. And trust me, nobody wants to go in that storm drain. Although on weekends, I did document some people going into it. But that's a story for another time. And it is a rather unusual scene for me. It is photos like this that we hunt for. And it is photos like this that did not present itself again because the lighting just did not happen. We've got the cavity right here, the male diving deep into this concrete canyon. And over time, what he's done from my observation is that he's memorized every crack on the cavity. He's counted every panel. He knows where the plants are growing through the wall, and he's captured every marking. It is also muscle memory that he would need to estimate the downdraft, because he would dive in, go low, and he would need to perch on the rim of the cavity to feed her. He goes back day after day and delivers this concrete material for her to seal herself in. Now, not only that she'll use this material, but she'll also mix it with fruit together with the feces. He would also deliver a lot of bugs, centipedes, millipedes, and this actually creates a solid wall, a barrier between the outside world and the nest that she's building for her young. Of course, with a photographer around, he keeps a watchful eye. And every time that he's captured something, either small or big, he would do his run again. But it is quite strange, because now this bird is nesting in a storm drain. At times, early in the morning when there's a storm, there's a high risk that the female could either drown or she could be flushed out. But for the male, he needs to be focused, remain focused, and remain persistent in bringing her enough food to last her the entire season. He does that over and over and over again. And at certain times, this is why I leave home, or I wake up at about 3 o'clock in the morning, get everything packed, zip my backpack up, shove coal into my coffee mug, make sure it's nice and strong, because you never know that tomorrow is going to be a beautiful day. It could be absolutely magical, or it could just be a complete disaster. But we just have to be there as much as possible. And as much as possible, I'm pretty sure I've missed a lot of shots, but this is what I could do at this time. What's meaningful to me in this image is that she's in the nest and he's a provider to her. He's being a husband, and the shadow is, you could look at it as a reason for doubt, or a reason that may not be there for long, because at any time a female goes into a nest, there is a high potential that they are going to raise a family together. A lot of times when we look at photos again and again, and we look at every crack on the wall, it gives us a lot to think about, because these forest specialists are now sharing our space. Or perhaps they were here first. At the edge of a growing sky, the forest here in this photo has been replaced by concrete, metal, and glass. And in the background, you see a crane. It's lifting construction material for another high-rise building. And a single bird, a single organic figure that just sits high up there like a superhero in defeat, wondering what's next to come. As resilient as they are, I followed this bird onto almost every single tree that is present within that area. And at times when he disappears, it's too far for me, because trust me, these birds are fast. And wherever I could not follow, I just go back to the base, or I call it my base point, which is at the nest, and wait for him again. The contrast here is astounding. And where birds ride or rest on branches in the forest, here you see a large hornbill just resting on a lamppost with mosaic in the building right behind him. Those black and whites are just very strange for a large forest bird to be like this. It is a place where hornbills ride lampposts. It is a collision of two worlds. It's a mystery to me on why this bird has chosen such a location. Is it because there's no forest nearby, or because they just want to try something different? So, with the lack of trees around the area, he weaves through commercial blocks, and in areas where windows are slightly open, he might peer through, and in areas where pigeons may lay their eggs, he would go and investigate. Now that the female is in the nest, she too will need ample of food to survive through the nesting season. At times, or most times, when female hornbills are in the nest, they tend to molt their feathers. So they might just molt their flight feathers. This could be to create a bed for the eggs or for the hatchlings to be comfortable. Not really looked into a natural nest before. What more, I can't be drilling through a concrete storm drain in the city. But she is ultimately just dependent on him. And he, at any means, he is catching crumbs for the nest. For one, he watches other birds, he watches the crows, and if we look very closely through this gap here, there's a person sitting there, and he's a street vendor with his table set up, and he would sell food, fritters, rice dishes, and at times when anything's discarded, the hornbill will watch the crows go and opportunistically pick up these crumbs. He learns fast. However, there has been quite a few battles with flocks of crows or murders of crows, and those have been very interesting to watch as well. Rice is not is not part of their typical buffet at all. And rice is something that humans consume, or we might feed it to our pets at times. But he handles rice with the utmost respect, as though he's handling the most precious cargo, because he knows that the female in there will need a lot of energy. It's not only rice that he has picked up. There's so many other different kind of foods that were discarded by humans that he has gone to investigate and at times bring back to feed her the nest. Being a large forest bird at the edge of the city, he tends to dodge traffic. He's been right smack in the middle of the road, places where I wouldn't lie down and take photos because of traffic. And early in the morning, there's always a lot of traffic, but this guy, he just managed to dodge all this traffic. However, he might not truly know the danger yet, because on a single strike, he might not make it. What more for the female in the nest? She might be waiting for food, she might starve, or she might break herself out. Unable to fly, she might fall into the storm drain and be washed away by the water. He's a very daring bird. Lo and behold, this is a couple of months down the line, and he's found a fig tree, and he would return to this fig tree every morning, every afternoon, and every evening, and he would pick his bounty. But here's the thing about hornbills, they just don't pick everything. He is a choosy eater. He would pinch the fruit, every single fruit, he would pinch them. Is it too ripe, overripe? He needs the perfect one. It needs to be the perfect ripeness. It needs to be perfect juicy. It needs to be perfect, because he will bring this back to the female. The fruits that he doesn't pick, he leaves it for the other birds. He seems to be at home here in this very photo. but what surrounds this fig tree is a chaos of a bustling city. When the fig tree has depleted its fruits, he has no other choice but to go back onto the scraps of the city. All this food droppings and remains. He would even scour through large green bins to look for food. It's unfortunate that this is my city, and it's unfortunate to just be walking around the streets and having been working on this site for almost 3 months, accumulative over 3 months. Every single day when you return, you find new kinds of scraps and trash that's just been laid out by a passerby or someone just throwing something out the window. It's heart-wrenching. But what's more heart-wrenching was taking this shot and knowing that this bird is now depending on rice noodles that someone has thrown out the night before. So on a drain pipe cover, it's a drain pipe cover, someone has tossed out rice noodles and it's just picking on it. It's quite comical to watch because he would pick on it, everything would fall around, and he's tossing it up in the air. And he would just take this back to the nest. As time went on, this gave me a little bit of hope. He started bringing back protein-rich foods for his mate that's sealed in his drain pipe. The thing about these birds is that we hardly hear them. During nesting season, their calls are limited. So we really needed to sit quietly, watch, and listen out, either for a faint wing beat or just for a large black shadow to pass us. And this photo reminded me of times whenever I needed to do a diaper run. It was raining like crazy out there. But what he holds here is an egg in his beak. And these birds have very large beaks, very strong beaks. And he holds it so gently. It's not merely an egg that he's holding. He's holding precious cargo that he's going to bring back to his nest that will sustain life for something even more precious. Of course, although he's learned from the birds, perhaps he's learned a trick or two, but to hunt from the crows itself. The crows, they can be rather nasty around these areas, and the crows are not afraid to attack humans if you get too close to their nest. And one of the battles with the crows, I followed him to the edge of a street where the canopy overhangs way over to the other side of the street, and there's a crow's nest there, and you see these birds doing battle. A lot of those photos are just photos of branches moving and just feathers everywhere. But on this particular day, he managed to get the crow's chick. Now, hornbills, during nesting season, they become formidable hunters, and the crows know well enough, perhaps, not to mess with these birds. And of course, he comes back with this chick to provide to the nest. In the forest, depending on the location that you are, depend what surrounds that forest, or how deep you are in that forest, you can actually conduct a biodiversity survey just by watching a hornbill's nest. Would a hornbill bring a snake back to the nest, or stick insects, or only fruits throughout the entire nesting season because there's just less in the forest? Here, opportunities are ample. However, in the city, you get pigeons, you get crows, you get the usual city birds, magpies, and miners. Sitting at a hornbill's nest gives us an indication of what surrounds it within the territorial range of the hornbill itself. Now, here's a sight that I never thought I would see. an oriental pied hornbill female. Yes, she is breaking the ceiling off, and she is ready to fly out the nest. It has been over 100 days that she has been in there, and it took her over 2 hours from the very beginning to break that ceiling. Fortunately, I was there on that day, and I managed to capture and fill up all of my cards on that particular day in this particular event only. So she's at the drain pipe door. Everything here, every crack on the wall is static. That circle that she's in represents the circle of life and what they have got to go through season after season. The cracks on the wall, just photographing it just gave me a sense of emotion of what she was going through. And eventually, the male on this particular day would have to sprint to provide her and possibly her chicks with enough food to keep them strong, to say, hey, I'm still your man. I'm going to bring you anything that you need. I'm going to provide for you and the family. The sprint was relentless. He would go off and come back minutes later with food, with more insects. And he does that multiple times within that morning. She eventually breaks out of the wall. She breaks that ceiling and she dies. She's weak. There's no trees nearby. And typically when hornbills fly out of the nest cavity, they tend to go down before they go up. So at this time, she went down. And whether or not she had chicks, I guess you're going to have to tune in again to find out. But this is the pair that tried to nest in a drain pipe. What's amazing about this pair is we know that oriental pied hornbills are not only resilient. We've had reports of oriental pied hornbills nesting in fallen clay jars under village houses, nesting in post box in villages, nesting in limestone hills on the northern peninsula of Malaysia, nesting in stupas in Thailand, in the temples, in the roof of the temples. But what we know for sure, from my experience with hornbills for over many, many years, is this is indeed the first record of a hybrid between an oriental pied and a black hornbill of the Antacoceros family. And, the monster here is not the Yeti, although he could be a kind, gentle creature that's just doing his thing wherever he is. But the monster here is a metaphor of what we could become, or what we are turning our cities and our landscape to, who we are, where we could be. The monster here is just merely a metaphor that is driving the species, no matter how resilient, to come back to our cities to remind us that this is a shared space and everything has its right, because all it's doing is it just wants to raise a family on its own. I wish I wouldn't have to watch it disappear as something that strikes home, because in time, no matter how much we care for our pet or for our landscape or that favorite lake that we used to run a cycle as kids or teenagers, it might just disappear. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the monster.
Wow, Sanjay, thank you.
Amazing presentation with
Thanks a lot.
with a message that strikes home, because when you sent the slides to me and I looked at the slides, I said, I think I know who the monster is, and I would see the monster when I look in the mirror. Was really my sense from what you put together, and the fact that the birds feel, either due to deforestation or the effects of humans in general, that they have to start trying to be as adaptable as they are and resourceful as they are to nest in urban environments, in the city, on the outskirts of the city, or what have you, is very heartbreaking in itself. When I saw, those images of the pipe and the bird in the pipe and whatnot, and obviously your activities with trying to build artificial nests and everything to provide habitats for the hornbills to stay in the forests and have a place to nest are so much more than honorable. But yeah, I looked at your slides, and when I got to the end, let's just say I may be probably thousands of miles away from where you are, but it struck home and was quite, the message was sent and quite heartbreaking. Just had to be for you being there so long, had to be extremely difficult to see what's going on. I mean, you see the effects every time you go out.
A lot of times you question yourself as a photographer, and it's like, should I be photographing this? It's like, this is not right. This is morally not right for a hornbill to be picking food from a garbage bin. And we do have those photos that I had to color a little bit, and I'm going to keep some for the next season, because this story will continue as long as I get some gear.
So Sanjay, you didn't tell us. So you say that this is a hybrid between Oriental pie hornbill and
the black, right?
And the black hornbill.
The black hornbill. So, and you see, and this may be a question for Mark, has that been documented in the hybridization or not?
No, that's to our knowledge, that's never been documented before, and it's both in a captive circumstance and a wild wild scenario. That's never been something that's been documented.
And do they have different habitats that they typically don't? I mean, we know that the speciations, birds speciate, they separate, they sometimes integrate again. It's more like a lattice rather than the traditional tree form.
Their ranges most definitely overlap. When we're in the Kinibatangan, we see these along with a number of other species. But they are, as Sanjit alluded to in the presentation, they are specialists in many respects. The black hornbill tends to be more of a sort of a forest dweller, whereas the pied is an edge nester and a bit more of a generalist. So yeah, it's certainly not unfathomable that this has happened, particularly with the pied, the Oriental pied. But it does go to show that that loss of habitat is forcing these issues or these events, and these birds are coming closer and closer together and doing what they can to survive.
Exactly. And sometimes species integrate, correct? Because we human modify the environment, and species that have been separated, now they find each other, correct? And they are closely related. So this could be the case, but still potentially could lead to either a new species or the disappearing of one of the species, depending whether there's one that is dominant versus the other. But
yeah, and I think there's probably a third point that that it really needs to highlight is that it's happening. You know, it could lead to a new species, it could lead to the disappearance of another, but really and truthfully, we shouldn't have to be considering either of those two options. It might happen over time, but it is definitely an acceleration that is a human caused acceleration of that evolution. So really and truthfully, we should be asking ourselves, do we want to be the maker of that?
now
it can happen as well in under natural circumstances. We're talking about, if I'm correct, integration of between different species. That happens among reptiles. I don't say a lot, but
yeah,
it does happen. I know it happens, but among lizards.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like I said, it can happen naturally. It's just whether we want to be the cause of that, whether we want to accelerate that.
I think if it happened and we weren't in the picture and it happened, you'd have a different feeling about it than the fact that it's happening, being driven more by environmental situations caused by us. That makes it more uncomfortable and disturbing.
Yeah. So Sanjit, question for you, because you didn't tell us the whole story, correct? Because did the chick survive? We know that the female basically broke the seal and was able to come out, correct? But do the chicks survive? And so that's a question. The other question related to that is, once the female break the seal and escape, they call escape the nest, do they both of them continue feeding the chicks inside the nest, or the chicks also come out and then they get fed in nearby?
Okay. First question: was there a chick? Did the chick survive? Mid-January 2027. We'll continue the story on the same channel.
I knew he was going to do that. I just knew it. I knew it.
Sounds like a cliffhanger.
The second part is, it really does depend on the species. A lot of times, depending on the species, for instance, the helmeted hornbill, when the female exits the nest, the chick will remain in there for between 2 weeks to a month. So the male still feeds the chick. The female will play a guardian role. She would hang out nearby. Now she's weak and she's wary, but she would also contribute to the feeding of the chick at times. For oriental pied hornbills, we've documented that right after the female leaves the nest, the chicks follow. And yes, the chicks will follow mom and dad, and mom and dad will take them to the best eateries of where they were providing the food to the nest. So mom and dad will show them the ropes, take them from one fig tree, one food source to another. And as other chicks from other nests of the same species or other species visit these fig trees, they start to pair up as well. But that's in a couple of months, depending on species.
Now, if a situation occurred, or if the situation had occurred where, due to natural causes, during this nesting season, if the male were to pass away, is that basically a death sentence for the female and the young, or would the female break out? Would the female be too weak to break out and provide food for the young, or would they all perish? Well, I'm assuming it would be the worst case scenario.
That would depend on the stage of that nesting season, really. If the male were to perish at the earlier part of the nesting season, then the female and potentially the chicks might perish as well in the nest. She's too weak to fly. She's not receiving food. It's brutal. It's a slow. Uh, it's
It's the worst of the worst. Yeah.
It's the worst of the worst. At times, towards the end of the nesting season, if the male by any means fail to return back to the nest with food, she might break herself out and play that role of both mom and dad to ensure that their chicks survive.
So we got a question here from Paul Kubarazzi. Do the man and do the dad and the female tolerate the presence in the areas? Or basically, do they share territories with the siblings and the parents, or do they establish separate territories once they hatch and when they leave the fledge? Sorry.
Okay. After they fledge, they pair up, they would go house hunting. And of course, cavities in trees are very high commodity.
Yes.
And the thing about hornbills is they're always curious. Whenever there's a hole in the tree, they'll go and peek into it. Sometimes there's a lizard, there's a snake, there could be a large squirrel in there, civets, sorry. And they would need to find one that is just perfect for them. So territories for nesting may overlap. They might be pretty far away as well. So it really depends on the type of forest that they're in.
So did I understood you correctly when in having the presentation that you were alluding to a rhinoceros and a gray hornbill hybrid? Do you think that is something that you may have documented or not?
No, it has been documented before. The Thailand Hornbill Project, I think that, if I'm not mistaken, they are the first to document the species and collect extensive samples from the hybrid. The ones that I photographed are in Malaysia, and in terms of extensive documentation, I believe that we have most of this extensive documentation, but this documentation is when the hybrid is at its adult stage. Right?
Yeah. And to mark here, I mean, hybridization, as you know, can be it's a roulette game, correct? Sometimes it leads to a viable offspring, sometimes it leads to a non-viable offspring. If it's not viable, then it's really bad because basically it doesn't lead anywhere, right? Have you guys been involved in any kind of genetic study that tells you whether these will be viable or not viable? These hybrids that we are observing?
No, we haven't. It's hybridization isn't something that we aim for in the modern zoo world and in conservation. But it's certainly something that we have the skill set and the knowledge to check. We don't have any of these species in any of these hybrids in captivity, and we're not able to get any of the genetic samples from the wild animals. But I think it's potentially evidence in itself that if we keep monitoring that individual, we'll go on to establish, given that it has its adult stage and it is paired with another bird, we could identify, and it is a male, we could identify whether or not it is a sterile individual or not. But certainly it's well within the scope of us to research. We're just unavailable. We can't do it without the samples. So it'd be a very interesting piece of work, though.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to make sure I didn't misconstrue something during the presentation. When the female accepts the gift from the male, and then they mate and have their young, is that is that something that has to be repeated I thought it was repeated every year, or once they have a mate, they're mated for life?
Yeah, they mate for
cover
life.
the next mating season and continue, or is it like you're starting all over again, selecting another suitor?
They will pair for life, and before every breeding season, there's a courtship period where the male would need to bring back these gifts, and at times the male can be very gutsy, very daring. We've seen male hornbills bring back bats and venomous snakes to present to the female. And I'm not giving anyone any ideas here, but these birds are really tough in the wild.
Yeah.
That's what the males have to do.
I have a question, Sanjit, because I'm a volunteer here in the area where we have a couple of nests from the Eurasian horned owl, and the male does most of the hunting in the summer when the female has their chicks. And what we know from here from data is that the females live a lot longer, but by a huge difference than the males. And we think it's because of exhaustion or exposure to polluters like PCBs, I think. Do you also see that in the wild, that the females live longer or a lot longer? Because of the males doing all the food grabbing and so for months on end.
Yeah, he should be really fit. He's getting all the workout.
Yeah.
But now, Luis, we've not.
I'm asking because they're monogam, you know.
Yeah.
If there is something that is known from it.
Yeah, not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Really. Mark, perhaps.
No, I was just we don't see it with ours that there's any particular bias towards one sex or the other. Longevity of them. I think there is a slight influence on the lifespan of the females because quite often because they're entombed in that nest for any trappers or hunters, they're an easier target. So we do tend to see a slightly unnatural skew towards more or a shorter lifespan of the females, but that's not
for different reasons.
Yeah.
So let's do some photographic questions also for you, Sanjay. So obviously we have, I just checked, so I'm not that knowledgeable. I just check in the internet on the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. 64 species of hornbills, correct? Now, how many of those hornbills, and I know they are not all in Asia, but how many of different species have you photographed?
10 species are present on the peninsula of Malaysia, which is 2 species more than Borneo. I photographed all 10, not extensively enough. There's a lot of species that I would really love to just go out there and just focus on documenting them. But out of the 10, we've also documented 2 hybrids. So, but for hybrids, we can't specify that it's a new species. However, I've photographed 12 types of hornbills in Malaysia.
Yes.
12 types of Malaysian hornbills.
Yeah.
So
now, would you say that? I mean, you've been there for over 2 decades, and has their behavior changed when you're walking through the forests? I mean, you're now a familiar face to them per se. I mean, are they more relaxed around you, or are they just if a stranger that's never been in there for the time that you've been in there were to walk in your path, would they be extremely skittish and just take off, or would they be tolerant?
They are very skittish during nesting seasons, and for one of the helmeted hornbill nests, I've spent the first 3 days just a couple of hours because the male wouldn't return to the nest to feed the female, and we will know that he's around. He'll make himself known. He would call. He'll voice out some warnings, and he would be flying around the nest. At times, directly above us, he would perch, but he'll never go back to the nest, although he's got fruit in his beak, and that would require us to leave the area. On a different part of the country, it was another helmeted hornbill nest, and it was a long-term observation. Of course, we're only human, we get tired, and some of our teammates were tired at the time, so they took days off and got some of their friends to fill in for their spot. And when new faces presented themselves in front of the nest, the bird wouldn't come back to feed. But for me, there is a sense, or there is this emotion that it transcends meanings of words. It's like the more I spend time with these hornbills, you get this gut feeling that you would need to gain their trust in order for them to reveal their will to you. So at certain locations, at certain nests, when I have documented these hornbills, it took us weeks until the hornbill would come back and feed at his nest, knowing that we are not a threat. Now, on a different scenario, some hornbills at a fig tree, happily feeding, and the minute you pick up a camera, they're associated with something else, and they just vanish.
Yeah.
They just fly away. So then, we'll look at each other. It's like, someone's not telling us something of what's going around in this area, what's going on in this area. But it's up to us as conservationists and naturalists to go out there and investigate, but also be safe at the same time.
So you have a question here from Paul, and a little bit of background. Our friend Paul is involved with some providing nesting boxes or habitat for European kestrels in Switzerland. So he's asking whether do you use cameras inside the nesting boxes to monitor the season and to monitor the development of the chicks.
We would love to. And a lot of experimentation has been done, especially these artificial nests that are placed in the forest. The macaques get to them. Okay. Yeah, so the macaques tend to rip off anything that's unnatural. If the camera was safely positioned in the artificial nest, these hornbills with their powerful big beaks, they tend to peck on the lenses so to destroy it.
We
but
also
we're not giving up.
We also find, because we have cameras in our nests in the zoo, and they mud them, they cover them with the sealant, with the nest sealing, so they see that little gap, and you've got a perfect shot. And then they just start to cover it up for you. Just when you want that perfect vision, they cover it up. The other thing that we're looking at and working with Sanjit and the guys out there is a better understanding of what the infrared spectrum is that the birds will see. With infrared and the volume of the infrared you might need to see in a dark cavity like that, and making sure that that's not a level that is causing any disruption to this species. So yeah.
Obviously, there is a whole hidden world that happens inside that cavity that our human curiosity would like to understand it. No, I don't know whether we should be privileged enough to know, but certainly people like Paul, and he had shown here in the show, he had documented some fantastic interaction between different birds competing for the same. In this case, the same nesting box, correct? And I didn't know about the macaque trying to grab all that. I mean, all that is extremely interesting. But Mark, indeed, I mean, finding something about the vision maybe help to document what kind of lighting or cameras can be deployed without being intrusive. Right?
There's an awful lot that we don't understand, and this is why it's so great working with Sanjit and the guys there. Is we can share all of our experiences. You know, we look at and Ravinder has been doing the same, looking at the temperature and the humidity in these nest cavities. We also could potentially start looking at the CO2 levels in there, because the gases exchanged when she's incubating the egg will potentially be quite influential when you're closing something like that up. So there's a huge range of sensors and tech that we really have ambitions to understand and help us understand these birds better. But yeah, I'm not tech savvy enough, and the macaques are cleverer than I am. So
I only have one more question for you, because I want you to catch your breath here. And this may seem like a strange question, but I'm a strange person, so I'll answer it. I'll ask it anyway. Have you ever seen anything like just so that overwhelmed you so much that you made the decision, I'm just going to watch this with my eyes and I'm not going to pick up my camera at all?
Yes, I have. Yeah. A couple of them was hornbill feeding at the nest cavity. There's one time where, it's just, everything was just perfect. Everything was just way too perfect. The weather was perfect. The lighting was perfect. The bird, it's just too postcard, and it was just too good of a shot to take. And I just watched it. I watched the hornbill camp. It was one of the longest feeds ever that I've witnessed, and I just sat down there and watched. And the bird flew away, and lo and behold, the next time he came back to feed, there were overcast of white clouds in the background that just turned everything gray. It was not cool, but those are the shots that I took. There was another time where we came across a bronzeback at the mangrove forest, and we had our cameras around the neck with macro lenses. It was very relatively thin, small, young bronzeback, and it was just doing its thing. It's just, just hanging about, and you're just literally on your knees, and you can kneel down, and it's such a low shot. It's beautiful black background, rim light from the side, golden hour, and you're just watching the snake, and your finger is always on the trigger, and you know where all the buttons are to move it. Underexposed, you get a beautifully perfect award-winning shot, and this snake just starts to yawn, and it does it in extremely slow motion, and that's it. And you just watch it, you go like, wow. There were quite a number of times that
So Sanjay,
just then watch, because this
we can always ask you questions when you join our regular Saturday show, but I need to ask you some questions here, because you alluded to couple of things, and I think our audience here for completeness will like to know. So, what camera and lens are you using? And second is, you alluded that your camera equipment is not up to good shape at this moment. So can you answer those?
okay. Most of the photos that of the hybrid hornbill, the second part where it starts from black and white,
Yeah.
most of them were taken with the Z9 and with the 180-600.
Okay.
And although this bird is in the city, when it's under the canopy or when it's going through this concrete canyon towards the nest,
Mhm.
the lighting conditions are pretty low. And this is how I ended up with way too many shots that I should in the pre-selection stage. Now, pre-selection alone, I've got over 6,000 shots.
Yeah.
And you can just imagine how much more I've taken before the pre-selection, before culling all the extremely blurred ones, before kicking myself because all the in-flight shots, none of them were good. They don't even resemble a bird anymore. And on top of them, I'm using the same Z9 to film and to switch it to video mode and to try to film this as to be as right as possible, or else the entire presentation someone can say, hey, yeah, I AI'd everything, because Photoshop can do that now. If I'm not mistaken, the shot of this bird flying through the storm drain, it was a 7200 that I loaned from a friend, and I just had to borrow it, and I had limited time to use it, and I just if I had an hour with this bird, I would just go ahead and just try, because I came from a place where I did not have my own camera, I did not have my own lenses, and I chose a career path where I would be able to work with media agencies that would have already owned this equipment, and I would be able to use the company camera to go out and shoot.
Of course.
The Z9, yeah, I mean it's got all these bells and whistles, and it's anything that you would like to photograph, it helps you photograph it. But not having an f2.8 or f4, all these prime lenses, it really deters from getting this clear, sharp behavioral shots that we need. Photos of the details of this bird from various angles, because we would like to see how morphologically different it is from either black orange or pied hornbill. So that might be a little bit difficult to determine. But when we first started out in wildlife photography, the camera we got was an Olympus E3 or E30 that only had 3 focus points.
Exactly.
So you got to work with whatever you got.
You work with what you got. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just got to make it happen. It's so frustrating, but you just that's the cards that you're dealt with at that time. Make something out of it. You could pull rabbits out of hats if you need to. Just try. Just go out there. Just do every day.
I want to throw up your webpage here in a second and have you talk about what you have on there for everybody, because you do obviously have capability for people to support you by buying prints and things like that. A lot of that money you put back into the effort to preserve these creatures and do what you do, which is phenomenal with you and your wife. So let me find that. Here we go. If you can talk about your what you have there on your site, and a little more insight into what's there when people go there, because I think it's important that everybody tries to support you, and that's one way of doing it. And if you want to, you can even open up your site and share it and just point out a few things. That's up to you. I don't want to tie you up for too long.
And you can share it like a regular window. And Mark, if you want to share something about your zoo and also any image, please do so.
Yeah, I can. Let me just see if I can get this to work. Here we go. This will be a miracle. Right. Share screen, is it?
Yes, the one in the middle. and you can share the window.
Share the window. Is that sharing?
Yeah, we'll bring it up here in a second.
Yeah. So I think it Paul you said was asking about the Nest Box cameras. This is an example of the sort of stuff that we've been able to capture. This is our rhinoceros hornbills. Our female in here. She's sitting a couple of eggs, and then I may have not got the other image, maybe. Let's see. And then that leads to, is that sharing still?
Yes. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
All right, no worries. That did lead to 2 chicks, which we're very proud of.
Oh, fantastic. And obviously, Mark, I mean, your collaboration with Sanjit, fantastic, right? Because there is that kind of connection between, you see, nature and in the controlled environment of the zoo that you learn from each other, correct? There's stuff that you only see in a zoo environment, and there's stuff that you only will be able to appreciate if you see it in nature. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really unique relationship that we have, and it's one that I really value. Ravinder and Sanjit's knowledge and enthusiasm is unfaltering, and they've come to Chester to visit us, and I've gone to Malaysia to visit them. I think I got at the better end of the deal because they came in winter.
Wait a minute, you're going to have to do something to correct that.
Yeah. I introduced them to Yorkshire puddings. It was, but it was it's a brilliant relationship, and being able to see the wildlife through their eyes and through the lens is an opportunity never to be missed, really.
So anyway, Sanjit, as we always tell you, don't be a stranger. You know where to find us, and we love to what you do, and try to support you as much as we can, and love to see the images. The images today were fantastic. Obviously, you have this special project with these hornbills that nesting that drain storm drain pipe. But the other images were beautiful of the other species in the rainforest.
Yeah, you did a presentation that definitely gives you a feeling of hope, but then also at the same time a little bit of feeling of despair at the same time. It kind of like a roller coaster ride, and but it's the reality. And I just wish that more people would realize this planet shouldn't be, we're supposed to be the caretakers of this planet, and we're doing a real crappy job, in my opinion, because we're supposedly the most intelligent creatures on this planet, but we do some really dumb things, and we think we could do whatever we want because it's self-serving for us. And we don't realize that, whether it be, in the jungles or in the forests or in the oceans or whatever, that we control, we have the power to either make everything go away, which would then, of course, lead up to us going away, or eventually, hopefully, we get smart enough to realize that everything that's on this planet is here and serves a purpose and is here for a reason, and we need to realize that we got to protect it. We can't just cut down every tree that we see or put houses everywhere and build resorts and do things like that. But I hope that what you put together is one piece of a puzzle to wake people up, to get people to stop looking at just them and start looking at the environment that they live in and what's around them. Because I mean, even in my little world here in South Carolina, I've had some battles I've tried to wage with the state parks and what I feel is mismanagement of the resources there, and documenting fish kills and which were caused by human intervention, not by natural causes like they would like to say. It's just so important to try to wake people up, because eventually, blink, everything's gone, and everybody says, "Oh, I didn't realize it was a problem." So I thank you for what you're doing, and you're extraordinary photographer, extraordinary human being, and what you and your wife do, and the staff and the people you work with, and just the people, the volunteers, and the people that help out with the nesting boxes and everything else is just extraordinary. And we tip our hat off to you, and thank you so much for letting us be a little microscopic dot in your path to make people aware of what's going on. We really think highly of you. We really appreciate it.
I just do what I can, and part of taking these pictures is telling that story. And just being a photographer, I mean, it takes a real toll on you. It's like broken fingers, like broken stuff all over the place. It's no fun. And then you still go back the very next day. You strap your boots on and march on. And it's not only very physical at times, but it does take an emotional toll. And it's not an easy one. It's not just as easy as clicking the shutter. It's tough. It's tough in so many ways.
So David is asking here whether you use hides or sit in the open to take some of the photos.
It depends on the situation. For the hybrid hornbills, I don't use hides because it's an open space and it is a public space. So if there was a hide, it might attract more eyes onto that area.
Exactly.
And I use hides deeper in the forest when the bird is a little bit more skittish. But even when I use hides, when the bird is present and we know that we can make eye contact, I tend to pop out a little bit gently from the hide, and we would make that eye contact. So this species would recognize me, and I would recognize it as well. You form that you kind of like tend to break that barrier, and you form that bridge of respect between the two species, between you and and your subject. I don't really enjoy using all around hides because in areas that we work, there are elephants as well. So if there's herds of elephants coming towards you, then you're trapped. So I use a simple curtain like hide, and we take it off every day. We bring it back every morning. It really does depend on the situation.
Yeah, you don't want to end up being a doormat because of the elephants.
I have a question. How do you protect your gear from rain or humidity when you're for so long out there? Because I have a few tricks of my own, but I mean, generally I'm not all day somewhere or like you.
The humidity at night, I put it back in my lens bag. I put the lenses in the camera. I mean, chuck the whole thing into my little Loe Pro golfer bag thing with silica gel cubes in it. Apart from that, that's as much as you can do in areas like this, because sometimes when you go out for expedition, it's a one-way ticket, and some of the expeditions in Borneo has been 45 plus days. If you run out of silica gel, you just got to make do. yes, we can get storage boxes and more silica gels, but that's part of the plan.
Sure.
Rain is the very most sophisticated technology that we have, and it is the cheapest one as well. So you get this
Plastic bag.
heavy duty garbage bags.
Yeah.
You put your entire backpack in it, and you're good to go.
Yeah. I always have a big garbage bag with me all the time. Also to sit on if the ground is wet. Yeah. Okay. No.
Yeah.
That's very good, Sanjay. So fantastic, and don't, as I said, don't be a stranger. And for sure, we would like to see when you have an update on this project, but also when you have an update on your, uh, artificial tree cavities project, right? That you presented to us a few months ago, right? That you chose the effort of constructing those, and sure that Mark have been involved with the design, and because that was pretty interesting. Not only given that these are big birds, right? That you have to provide a big structure, but also deploy those structures in rather tall, more than 100-meter trees, correct?
Yeah, and the part of the challenge is the reality that we cannot replicate live trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll definitely keep everyone up to date with what's been going on. Hopefully, some interesting stories and some funny stories from the forest too. Not everything needs to be so serious at all times, and I just need to catch some wind in my sails, and I'll be off on more expeditions again.
Yeah. So, Mark, one thing you may not know, here in my property, I keep a couple of dead trees on purpose, correct? Because that's one of the things when we landscape our own environment. Sometimes we, as soon as a tree
Yeah.
die, we cut it, correct? And on our area here, woodpeckers, flickers. All those animals require the trees, correct? And so I am very much trying to convince my neighbor, hey, if your tree die, just chop the top, but leave the trunk, correct? Or leave some branches so that they can eventually utilize it. And in my case, I've been quite successful. I've been some set of northern flickers that have been followed their life cycle now for 5 years, correct? Because they tend to, if you provide the habitat, in this case, the dead trees, they stick around, correct? And they provide you great photographic
Yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah. It's we've co-inhabited this planet with wildlife for a very long time, and we can continue to do that and no problem. We just have to be conscious when we're making those decisions, no matter how big or small they might be. And something like that's perfect. I'd love to have flickers in outside the office here.
Exactly. So you have to leave some trees available. So anyway, so Sanjay, what is the next? Uh, what is your next project? And you will continue doing this. And by the way, you didn't tell us, and we don't want you to reveal more than you need to. But is this hybrid and this drain pipe in any city that you may want to mention in Malaysia, or?
No, yeah, it's in a city. It's in a city in our hearts. No, but it is in Malaysia, and we can't really reveal where it is at present because it'll just be overcrowded with photographers eventually.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
and some photographers that travel long distances and they have a very short time frame to document these birds would come up with very creative methods of luring this bird
No.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure.
towards the
Yeah.
camera, and we've seen that happen. multiple times, and I think there were reports, perhaps a couple of years back, that a landowner had to shoot a bird because photographers were coming into his
Oh
property.
my God.
Yeah, and it's just going to become a real mess, and the mess here.
Yeah. No, no.
Photographers are very, yeah, so we
It's
just
I mean, it's the pull and push of ecotourism, correct? We as a photographers can contribute to the problem. Sometimes we help the problem. We provide funds for the locals to basically appreciate, provide viewing areas and all that, and that's good. But on the other hand, sometimes our presence interfere with the natural processes.
well, we may have good intentions, but others may not have the same intentions.
Yeah, but the photographer in particular, correct? I mean, Luis knows that very
Yeah,
well, and we rely on local people to sometimes know where the animals are and help us to find it in our limited time. On the other
yeah,
hand, and in places here in South America, and sometimes in South America, there is a tremendous push towards ecotourism because so the bird had to be valued. Let's say in places like Colombia and Ecuador,
absolutely. Yeah,
bring tourists with money, and then the locals create habitat, correct? But so anyway,
yeah, I know. And I'm a guide here myself, and if we see things which are so strange, and I know my friends which are birders as well, we never reveal nesting sites, or if something more strange comes up just like that in the summer and they are nesting, we are conscious of what we can say or not, or things are published but not visible for months, and then they are made visible after the fact, let's say. It's always difficult to, yeah, to keep it a secret, but at least we try.
and you have a question here
We try.
about your photography, Sanjay.
Oh, I photograph almost anything really, and
That's my man.
opportunist. Yeah. Although we're focused on hornbills, at any time that we are heading towards site, at times we encounter elephants. There are certain areas that we have seen black panthers, sun bears, uh, crossing the highway. This is where we pull the car over and start uh, gingerly and very carefully walking towards them to try and photograph them. So uh, at times, it is too dangerous to photograph these wild animals. We pull the car back as far as we can, and we send a drone up to see if we can try to capture at least a photo, a little bit of video of this wildlife utilizing uh, the highway as also as a road for them, or crossing over the other side. So at any time we see something interesting, we try to document it, and for me is part of a larger narrative in connecting one
Yeah.
species to another, but ultimately it's part of a greater landscape that these wildlife species can share in harmony,
Yeah.
that we are visiting or just passing by. So uh, I know it's tremendous, a lot to photograph and document, but just one at a time. And opportunistically, I do photograph crocs, I do photograph
Oh yeah.
primates, um, elephants, birds. Yeah, the only thing I don't do is fish, because it's just
Yeah.
another a whole new world of camera gear.
Right. You are.
All right, Luis, go ahead and share and with your
I'm
question.
trying. I think I'm sharing already a picture
All right,
of
let me
two,
see. I mean, let me see if I have it
or
answered.
if Jeff needs to do
No,
it.
no, no, I can do it because we're waiting for yet. Oh, yeah, here it is. Oh,
Is it gone?
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Luis.
Can you see something? I cannot.
I can
Yeah, we
see.
see it.
I can
Yeah.
see a couple of hornbills. Sorry.
Yeah. Which one is a male and a female on this one?
Ah, okay. The female's in the nightgown, the male is in the tux.
Ah.
Yeah. So yeah,
See what you see. Yeah, because I saw those in Thailand last year.
beautiful. White crowned hornbill.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Didn't expect to see those up there. That's why I was very, very happy when I saw those.
Yeah.
So in Thailand, I've seen as well that people have like big ceramic pots. I think more for the pied hornbill because of the size, I suppose. But I've seen those things hanging on trees and in parks and whatever. I wonder if they are readily used by the pied.
There
Or
has
wait-
been, yeah, there has been records of oriental pied using these ceramic pots.
Yeah, okay. So it is for that, because I've seen them in trees and so on. I was wondering if that was the reason.
You see the answer here.
Wait a minute, that sounds too close to home for me.
Thanks, Kubarazi. That's
Anyways, I think Jeff, we need to leave Sanjay.
yes. Let him go.
Let him
Well,
go.
let him go, and well, I'm sure he's not going to take a nap, but he's probably ready for coffee now. Aha.
Okay.
It's a lot of coffee.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't thank you enough for doing this, and we look forward, hopefully, to your consider us when you do the follow up to this.
Yeah, but just don't tell anyone I did this. Everyone's gonna come after me. It's not safe in my own country.
No, don't worry about it. Thank you.
Yeah.
No,
Thank you guys so much.
To people on that watch this later on, or those that are still in the chat, this is copyright protected stuff, guys. So do not share images of this or any of the video clips or anything. I mean, obviously it's on the channel. People can view it on the channel, and that was Sanjit's decision to allow us to show it for you. But do not proliferate and take any of this content and use it for any purposes whatsoever. You want to see it again, just watch the video again on YouTube and leave it at that.
Thank you all so much, and it's amazing. It's a beautiful world out there. It's 3:15 in the morning. I think I'll just stick around a little bit longer and catch up with the updates in the photo world.
All right, very good. Thank you. Mark, you're welcome to stay. You're welcome to leave. That's all right. We're going to proceed here with the show, and you're welcome to join us on our other occasion. We meet every other week, correct? Typically on a Saturday, our Saturday night, which is not the most convenient for the UK, but we're trying to put the occasional show and a more friendly time for the people in Europe.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for having me. I will definitely join again. I need to learn how to use a camera first, because Jeff's earlier question about anything that you decided to not pick a camera up for, that's just about everything, unfortunately, for me. I'm not tech savvy, but yeah, it's been fantastic. Thank you very much for having me, and really interesting. Well done, Sanjit. Good man.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.
Cheers, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you for being part of it, Mark. We appreciate it.
Anytime. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm
Next
going
time.
to move here to the show, and so we just concluded this fantastic presentation from Sanjit, and so let's see what we have. So, all right, so news and rumors. Let's see what we have, and Actually have been relatively quiet couple of weeks. So this is the only thing that I have put this single page. So on the Nikon side, obviously there was the release of this new 24 to 105 millimeter 7 to 7.5 f, which is a very compact, budget friendly, all purpose zoom. Probably will be the default zoom that will come with some camera.
Be like a kit lens for some of the cameras, because I think it wasn't somewhere around 500, little over $500, I think.
Exactly.
Something like that. So for those who watched Matt Irwin's review of this lens, and unfortunately someone made a comment and I responded to it, because a person made a comment, "Oh, I can't believe all the negative comments on this." And you know, it's sad, because yeah, you know, if you're someone that only buys the high-end glass and whatnot, you kind of get tunnel vision, and you think about what your use case is and what you like to see, and then you kind of poo-poo on the stuff that comes out that is good but not at the level maybe that you use. And I think it's important that Nikon and any camera company offers different lens price points, just like you do with camera bodies, because, you know, everybody can't afford a Z9 or a Z8, and everybody can't afford, you know, the 600 or the 800 millimeter lenses and that type of stuff. And you have different, and there's some people that only use a camera for special occasions or travel, and the rest of the time the camera is in the bag. They don't shoot every week. But you know, a lot of people don't shoot every week, so they don't need to go out and spend $2,000 on a lens or $3,000 on a lens. And pictures that Matt took were very nice. There was nothing. We all have a lens in the Nikon lineup that isn't an S series lens in the Z mount, such as Sanjit just pointed out. He used the 180 to 600. That's not an S series lens.
No.
He's taking shots with a 180 to 600. Myself, and I know Gustavo has taken pictures with the 180 to 600, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think you know, Nikon doing this is a good thing. You know,
and in some cases it's the right tool, correct? And for some people, this will be the right tool, correct? And
right.
Yeah. So again, good to have more options available, and I think that definitely a welcome new addition to the Nikkor Z lens lineup. So the second one here was I think I was hoping that this will materialize yesterday night before the show, but there is rumors of already a CR firmware coming soon that came from Nikon rumors, right? And they may open additional capabilities to the already a very capable camera, right? But we keep an eye on it. I know that with our group here, our community, the CR have been a popular video camera. And the last one that I capture here is those reports of a bug in the CF version, firmware version 3.0, in which certain actions will lead to the LCD locking up or stuck in the eye menu. Okay, and actually I'm going to go back to that one, because I actually have an event with my Z9 on the LCD that I want to show you what happened to me. But indeed, so there are certain actions that you can do with the camera that may lead to this locking up in the eye menu, and it's all documented there, and it tells you how to correct that situation. And when I talk about what happened to me with the Z9, it will talk about sometimes how to balance for this. There's a couple of releases and announcements on third-party lenses, the Mikke 85 1.8 and Viltrox 55, 1.2. So obviously, the additional non-Nikon lenses for the Z mount keep increasing. So more and more, as we said before, more and more options for the different. Now on the other side,
I can make a quick comment.
Of course, go ahead.
Matt Irwin's obviously done a lot of reviews on Viltrox lenses, and I own a Viltrox lens. I own the is it 16 millimeter 1.8, I believe it is. I've been okay with that with no problems. Now I know our friend Tim, aka Mozman, he gave a shot at buying that new 135 that Viltrox came out with, and he had nothing but problems with it, and he just sent it back.
Okay.
And whereas Matt, the copy Matt got was perfectly fine, and he gave it stellar reviews and really liked it. So you still just to be aware of it, that there's still a chance that you're going to get something that might have a quirk and have a problem. And even Roy, with his mega, was it the mega gap?
Oh yeah.
Using it for the old screw drive F-mount lenses, put it on your Z-mount camera, and that thing has performed horribly for him. And hopefully we get an update on the next show, because he said they're supposed to come out with a firmware update on that, and hopefully they fix the problem. But we'll find out the next time we hear from Roy. But the stuff that's coming out of China, some of it's great, some of it's not so great, and none of them have very good instruction manuals.
You have to find them online, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely for that mega lab. We have a couple of people in our community that are good at that, but certainly Roy, with his sample collection of lenses, is the right man to test when a new product like that comes along, right?
Yeah.
So on the other systems and YouTube, then again on the Canon side, talking about adapting third-party lenses or having third-party lenses, I think there were reports, that came from Petapixel, that Mikey found a loophole in the Canon RS system that allows them to adapt, correct, they back engineer some of the lenses faster. Okay, so other things happening in photography. Obviously, the Apple just announced Apple Creator Suite, so competition for Adobe. I think a lot of people have been keen to have at least to have competition for Adobe, and this is supposed to be competition to the Adobe Suite, which is several products together. Obviously, it hasn't been released yet. Many of us have some Apple and Adobe products, correct?
Well, I don't even know what would Apple be. Remember, Apple used to have Aperture years ago for doing photos.
Yes.
I mean, what do they really have now?
Well, they acquired a company a couple of years ago. I can check. I don't use it, but I can check on it, and actually have excellent reviews. Correct. So they are trying to go back into the photography space, and this tells you that because they are offering that as part of the suite. Correct. They are trying to be head-on competition with Adobe. Correct. So
Yeah.
But that's for raw processing then, because I don't use. I don't have an Apple computer, so but that would be like for Adobe Photoshop and Lightroom.
exactly
Kind of competition. Okay.
And all offered within this creator suite. Correct. So you will have the video capabilities, you will have audio capabilities, you will have photo processing capability.
All right. Okay. So the whole thing.
I'm happy with what I have, and I do use Apple products, correct? But they are offering this, and the only thing that people have been complaining is that they are offering this Apple Creator Suite as a bundle, and it will be also a subscription type of service.
Yeah, so much a month or so much a year. Yeah.
Exactly. And they offered discount for students and all that kind of stuff, but it would be like I think the price would be like $12.99 per month, or the subscription services. But again, you have to see whether that set of combination of tool fits within what you know, what you are useful. So the other news that was interesting article again in Petapixel about the future of Pentax, because it was called the Pentax future is uncertain. But the end that when you get into the article, you see that the Rico manager, who the Rico owned Pentax, says that they are still committed to keep the brand as a separate brand. So we may not see the demise completely of Pentax. Other article that came relatively recently talking about lenses was from, as you know, not many of the U.S. retailers tell us about their sales, but some of the Japanese retailers mention what is their sales figures in terms of what are the dominant lenses. And actually, out of these Japanese retailer called Mac cameras, they mentioned that the top three lenses they're selling over the last year, where the number one was an Nikon, the 24-120, which is a very popular lens for us here in the community. Therefore, somehow in competition with that 24-105 kit lens that we're talking about. Then the second one was another Nikon lens, the new 24-70 millimeter f2.8, the version 2 of that lens,
which has not yet been on sale.
Which is not yet on sale, but definitely selling well in Japan. And the third one, I think, is a Canon the Canon 24-70 millimeter, okay, version 2. So that's good. So Nikon is doing well in Japan, and it's obviously selling fantastically among the Japanese photo aficionados. Then many of you know we are celebrating this year the 200 years anniversary of photography, right? And although the exact date when photography was invented and all that, but it typically considered that 200 years ago, photography came to existence. And France, which is one of the places where photography was first invented, it's going to plan to celebrate the invention of photography, right? And the final one is something that is impacting all of us, because with the AI revolution, correct, and all these investments on AI data centers or processing centers, the RAM price has come up, correct? So now buying our RAM for our cameras or for our computers extremely expensive. I was commenting to Jeff the other day that I wanted to build one of those SSD enclosures like our friend Tim was doing, and the price from an 8 gigabyte, right, went from, I think, $500 or something to $800 in a matter of a couple of weeks, correct? So
I remember seeing that in the Dutch news, in fact, in last December, middle of December.
Yes.
They were already kind of warning about it and saying, well, if you need to buy for Christmas and whatever, maybe you should consider to buy it, even if you don't need it, because next year, and they were right, in fact,
it's going to be very expensive. So hold on to your cards, manage your memory. Don't fill it up too quickly, Jeff, so that you don't have to go and buy hard disk. Particularly,
no, I'm good for quite a while. I got plenty of storage right now.
I think these affect mostly the solid state, right? Memory.
Not sure. I have a few to sell if you guys are interested, for a good price, of course.
So and finally here, I think there have been some interesting videos from Matt Erwin, Robert Silver, Scott Keys, and Steve Perry, but I will allude that later on, make some comments on those, because those are what I call worth watching YouTube videos. So
Scott Keys, I saw indeed, yeah.
Yeah. I just want to let everybody know that for those who may be confused with this Wednesday show, is we are not having a show on Saturday. Okay. If you look back on the schedule that Gustavo puts together for every show and shares with everybody, we have not had scheduled a show on this Saturday, for well over a month. We planned everything around doing this Wednesday show and foregoing the Saturday show. Now, will that always be the case? Not necessarily. Gustavo and I will continue to discuss other opportunities to do an occasional show on a Wednesday. We will take into consideration whether we just want to do it on a week in between, where we're not trying to do two shows back to back, because when you're the one between Gustavo and I working together to put together the content, it's hard enough to do it how it's spaced now, and to do two shows in the same week, especially with the generous earnings that we acquire over the year doing this, is not overly realistic. So for those of you that may be a little PO'd that we're not having a show on Saturday, I apologize, but we had never had it on the schedule to do a show on Saturday, just to set the record straight. But we will, if we're doing more Wednesday shows, we will keep that into consideration, and then we may end up doing two shows in a week every once in a while. But we have to try to see if we can. We want to try to see if maybe we spawn off a regular Wednesday show with maybe different hosts. If we get volunteers, wink, wink, wink. I'm not going to name any names. You can run, but you cannot hide.
But it's also good to have some of our regulars that are from Europe to watch the occasional video in a more in a time slot.
Absolutely. Or if we have something to show, that we do it on a Wednesday, for instance.
Exactly.
Something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we put this thing together to be obviously the schedule that today's scheduled to work with Sanjit's schedule as well. And as David says, he'd like to have it on an alternate week. Well, yeah, that would be the goal if we're the ones doing the content, but if we're inviting guests, we want to work around their schedule. And especially, Sanjit has, for him to even consider coming on our show with his schedule and everything that he does, and sponsors, and working with all these organizations he works with. We're gonna do the show when he can do the show, and the chips fall where they may. But when we're doing it and it's just us guys, we have more flexibility to do it on an alternate week, so we don't affect the Saturday show. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But we're going to continue to work on trying to do some shows on Wednesday. Isn't going to be all the time, but we don't want to. We basically forgot about our European audience. I mean, when I was doing the show basically every Saturday initially for quite a long time before I throttled back, and then we went back to two shows, and I get a lot of support from Gustavo, and of course everybody else that comes on the panel and supports as well. But two shows. I know in the beginning there was no way I was going to be able to do the two shows a week every week like Chuck did. I mean, it was not. I couldn't do that and still satisfy my personal needs in photography. Let's put it that way. Okay, if I wanted to,
but you did it very well for a long time.
So we're doing the best we can. We want to improve. We want to expand the reach if we can, but that's something that we have to talk about and work on down the road. And so I just thank everybody that came and on. Appreciate it that you came on, because obviously, much to my disappointment, a little bit was I did try to promote this event with teasers. I did put it in keywords in the YouTube, a lot of keywords in YouTube. So if people did searches, that hopefully they would pick up that we were doing the show. And I hope that the European audience gets wind of this show that we did today and comes to watch it in the replay mode, because we obviously didn't have a large contingent of people that were on the live stream with us today, which was a little disappointing, to be quite honest with you. But
it's just after work.
It doesn't take away from what Sanjit did at all. And if anything, we have had a historical presentation on this channel, and there's nothing to, excuse my language, bitch and complain about. I mean, to put it mildly. So we will keep chugging along and trying to constantly improve. I mean, that's what it's all about. And obviously, I think this week for me, I mean, even during the show, I had construction going on in the house. I had electrician yesterday afternoon. I had electricians from 9 o'clock this morning until like 20 minutes ago. I got plumber coming out tomorrow that'll be here for half the day. So I'm trying to buy materials and do stuff and work with contractors. And I didn't have time to put together anything on the rumor side. So if it wasn't for Gustavo, we wouldn't even be talking about any of this stuff. So I appreciate him covering my behind here and giving us some extra stuff to talk about, because I didn't have time to do it this week, guys. There's no way I could do it.
No. That's fine. So let's continue here. Okay, so I told you that I did have a situation here with my C9. Basically, as I was, programming some of the buttons, I may have done a combination of both. I don't know exactly what, but what happened to me is that the back LCD screen stopped displaying, and I tried to reactivate the LCD, and I couldn't get it. I don't know what combinations of buttons I was using. Obviously, switching between the eye menu and the main menu of the camera, but the camera was working. I was able to take photos, but I was not able to see anything on the back screen. Okay, so
this after you did this new firmware update? Or?
Yes, but this is the firmware update that happened to us on the C9 like 3 weeks ago. I was actually with the two cameras, the C and the C9, reprogramming some of the buttons. I
did the same, yeah.
As we typically have to do regularly as we learn our camera.
Yeah.
But I was playing with the two cameras, and I may have pressed something or simultaneously a couple of things, but my LCD went off and I couldn't get it on back. Okay? So I ended having the solution, which is on the right side. You can see I ended having to restore the software.
Factory default, right? You had to go to the factory default.
But because I could see the menu via the EVF. So the camera was working. I could go into menu mode in the EVF, but not in the back LCD. Okay. So I restored the factory settings via the setup menu, and reset all settings.
Yeah.
Now you can
imagine. I did that once with the Z8 or with the Z9, but I don't remember the reason. But it all went back because I had kept the settings on my computer that I took from the SD card or whatever, XQD card. And then I put it back in, and then everything was working.
Exactly. Unfortunately,
I don't know what happened.
I was not as good as you. I do have some settings, but the settings that I say were like firmware, 2.0, all
yeah.
settings that didn't match the
Oh,
current settings.
that happens as well. Yeah.
Going from the factory setting to where my cameras are now, it took me a half a day, going screen by screen with the CA in one hand and Steve Perry guy in the other hand, and knowing what I wanted to achieve, right?
Yeah.
But it was a painful exercise, right? A better solution, and this is what I did. I brought this one here, is to save your camera setting regularly on the computer, correct?
Oh,
Particularly,
okay, good. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
particularly after a firmware update. So you do a firmware update, you modify a couple of buttons,
Yeah.
save it, and extract it from your camera. Don't leave it in your camera, because if you reformat that
Yeah.
you will disappear, correct?
You can save it and then put it back.
And then you can save and put it back.
Yeah, I usually, and I haven't done, and I got to do it now. What happened with you? But I would typically save my settings on a, on a card that I wouldn't use for doing pictures. I kept it just for saving the settings.
That's a good idea.
And I would dump it on the card every time I did a change to it.
And actually, that is the best option, because you can take it with you to the field. So if that happened to you when you're traveling and you're not access to your computer, so that's actually what you can see here. Is go to your setup menu, which is a range icon. So you go to the save load menu setting, save your setting into a file that create that. In my case, it create, because I did it for both, an NCSET 010, so I don't know what those numbers are, on the C9, and an SCSET 012 on my C8, and I move those into my computer. But indeed, you should move it on into a small card that only have settings, and get it with you. So that's the better option of this. But certainly, guys, remember to do that, because I forgot, and it wasn't that painful. I was not traveling, but it took a half a day of painfully going through all.
It's painful. It is painful.
Yeah. What I did once was pick up the Z8 next to the Z9 if you have both cameras, because the menus look pretty much the same.
Yes.
And try to go item by item until I find out what went wrung, something like that.
Exactly, and that's what.
Not that it happens a lot, but
yeah, that's what I had to do. And all right, so the next thing. So I'm sorry. Let me go here. So the next thing that I have, photo gear, because this will be something. So this is me imitating Jeff, correct? So.
Oh no.
The whole world is shaking right now.
Yeah. So I do not have a collection of cameras, but I do have kept my old cameras. And actually, these two that you see here are my first two cameras. And the reason why I tell you a little bit of a story about it. First, that Olympus OM10, which I had shown before, actually that's my dad camera. So it has a tremendous sentimental value to me, because that's a camera that I took from him. I don't think he volunteered. I basically took it from him. Work actually some of my he did some of my field work on my thesis, okay, and with that camera. And eventually, when I moved to Europe, that camera went with me. So that was the camera that I commandeered from my dad, but it's in my collection and it has tremendous sentimental value to me, correct? So I count that as my first camera. And the camera on the right is the Nikon F3 HP, which was actually the first camera that I paid with my own money, correct? And so I went from to the top of the line when I moved to Europe, and I mentioned it to Martin before I went to Dusseldorf, to the camera shops in Dusseldorf, living in the Netherlands, correct? And one of those days when the shops are open over the weekend, and got this F3, which was now that camera I haven't seen in many years because, you know, as I have traveled the world, is in a box somewhere. And the other day I was saying, I think I got an incline where it was, and I dig out in my closet and I found it. Correct.
Oh, okay.
So I found my first camera that I bought.
Blew the 2 inches of dust off the box first.
Exactly. And my impersonation of Jeff, and actually my thanks to Jeff, is that I have been cleaning the camera, taking care of the camera, and he have been extremely helpful, providing advice on how to camera. The good news is the camera is fully operative. It's not as clean as I want it to be. It maybe require changing some seals, but even the LCD, which is what typically goes off first on this camera, uh, is still working. So it's a fully functional camera. And actually, my wife was surprised when I handed it to her how heavy these cameras are. Correct. I mean, this camera weighs a ton compared with so for Chuck, when you listen to this, I mean, if you wanted to complain about heavy cameras, I mean, this maybe not that big, but heavy it was. So, so I have been cleaning my own cameras. Actually, Jeff also have provided me some help with with this is my third camera. So this is my first autofocus. This is what is called the F90 or the N90 here in the US. Correct? Was my first autofocus camera that I have. I have been taking care of my camera gear. All right. So the next thing that I have for you guys.
I'll be right back, guys. I gotta let the dog out quick.
That's all right. So the next thing that I have is on photo equipment. Correct? We are always looking for the perfect camera for a perfect photo, and this is actually an interesting development. So Think Tank, which many of us know, has gone with some recent backpacks. Actually, I showed a couple of weeks ago one that I bought. But in this new Think Tank bag called the shape shifter, they have replaced the traditional dividers with basically pouches and strap. And actually, I like that development. As a matter of fact,
can you remove them?
You can remove them.
Can you take them out? Okay.
Okay, but there is no dividers anymore. And I find out that dividers, although are very protective to the camera, are not the most efficient. As a matter of fact, on all my cameras now, I have removed the dividers. Correct? Because so, and I don't have this one. I do have the bags that I want, but I have replaced it with pouches. Correct? Or sometimes socks that I put it there. It's more efficient to pack it that way for traveling than actually to have the traditional dividers, which are very convenient if you are working out of the car, and it protects your camera gear very well, but it's not that space efficient. So I think with this development of Think Tank, okay, you can see that the camera bag manufacturers are exploring how things to be more efficient. So if you go and inspect this one, you can see you don't have to buy a new bag, but you can use this idea on how to transport your equipment. Correct?
I do a bit of both, because I also have, I don't remember, I have a Think Tank backpack. I can pick it up later just to see the number. But I took a lot of the dividers out, or I adapt them for every single trip, because I always carry different things with me.
Exactly.
If I even go only with a backpack, sometimes I even put a pair of shoes there, and then I have to remove a few. But I also have my own containers or my own pouches that I also put individually in those bigger, say, spaces. So I do a little bit of both, let's say.
So I think Tank has probably understood that, correct? So and basically we may see this trend that no longer. The good thing is that some of the straps, because they are Velcro, they still stick to the back of the that felt material in the camera bag. So it's a very good way to transport. So I thought I mentioned it to you guys because we're always looking for ways of, like you were saying, Luis, to transport as much equipment as we can with the smallest bag and make our bags more efficient. So this is an interesting trend. in terms of this product, they have two versions: the 25 liters and the 37 liters. Okay. So the next,
I also bought, like, was beginning of last year, so almost a year ago. I bought a backpack from what's it called? Mindshift?
okay.
Yeah, I think so. And it's one that I actually saw on Petapixel.
Okay.
And then I remember seeing that. Took me a while to find that video again, but anyway, I found it. I could buy it here in the Netherlands. And why did I buy it? Because I always carry two backpacks with me. I look like a idiot carrying all the gear with me. But I always carry one backpack with two straps like this, which is very unhandy to take out and take the gear out. And I have one across like this. So the traditional backpack, I normally only keep one thing inside, but this one from Mindshift, I can go over one shoulder, get the backpack like this, and then with one strap open the side.
Exactly.
Normally, you cannot open the sides up until the end because there is a place to put a bottle or something.
Exactly.
But there are some particular from that brand that you can actually zip it up completely until the end, and then I grab even my Z9 with a 180 to 600 if I want.
Exactly.
But just to make this shift, open the side and get the camera. You cannot do that with a normal backpack that it goes across both of your shoulders. But with that one, if you just get one of the shoulder loose and you twist it around, you can open it completely on the side.
And that one roller top that I bought from Think Tank for smaller trips here, Luis, is also the same. But I took all the dividers, so I use it because you can open from the side or you can open from the back. And actually have a roller top, so you can put a jacket in the top of the thing. So again, we always looking for camera bags and way to transport, and obviously we probably have too many, but sometimes we have
we have too many.
I recognize that smile. Yeah, we have too many.
Yeah.
So the next thing that I have here for today is something actually that many of you may find interesting. So let me tell you what the origin of this. And I may do a little bit of a demo here. I have L brackets in all my cameras. Right? I always have put one of the things that I do is put an L bracket. And actually, I do the L brackets. You can see it here. I actually don't put it flush with the camera. I actually put it a little bit displaced. And this is a Kirk Enterprise because I actually like this to function as a handle. Right? Actually, at one time I showed it to Roy, and Roy said, Gustavo, you should put a handle, correct? And actually, I do like it when I travel in this way because, you can collapse it. And then when you get into location, you can unscrew the Allen key, take the Allen key that is provided and move it around, and then you have a handle. And having a handle or managing the camera this sort of fashion, it's quite convenient because sometimes when you have to shoot, using the LCD screen, they provide a more stable platform. Correct? So you go like this and you're watching your LCD, that's providing a more platform. But I kept what Roy was telling me that I should buy a handle. Correct? The problem is I didn't want the handles like for the small rig that you had to screw it into this because it was a different thing. I wanted a handle that was Arca Swiss. So that was something that I was looking for. So also, when you work with the long telephotos, correct, and you're holding your lenses, you find that that after a while it becomes a little bit painful to just grab the shoe of your long telephoto lenses, correct? So I said, maybe I can find a Arca Swiss handle that can also be put in the lens, correct? So I was trying. So I ended finding that indeed there were Arca Swiss handle. And I ended up buying these two. And the reason why I'm sharing this because I'm extremely happy. For once, as a handle itself, correct? You can see here here on my C9. So let me put it on, right? That small rig as a handle is very good. It is very efficient, right? And actually provide a lot more stability, correct? It also have a cold shoe for a flash if you wanted to use it that fashion. But they say Luis, you want to take a photo from ground level, this provides you a lot of stability to take the photo. Okay, so that was one use for it. Okay, now the other use is that I wanted for supporting the camera. So let me move here and I show you the next photo. Correct. So this is the next photo here. So you can see the handle on the C8. Correct, as a typical handles get used. But the other one, which is a different product from a different manufacturer, I wanted to have as a support for the put it at the shoe of the foot, correct? For handheld photos with a long telephoto, because I'm sure everybody has been here with the 800 or the the 600 TC trying to take a photo, carrying all that weight on the foot of the lens, correct? Because you don't want to put it at a tripod. You get tired very quickly, correct? But I have this came about a couple of weeks ago, and I have been doing experimenting with this, and I'm very pleased to use this other, which is not the Arca Swiss, that other brand, and put it on the bottom of the C8, right? So I'm going to show you here in a second. I think I have it here.
Gustavo uses his couch for camera storage all the time, guys. So just so you know.
So you can see here, correct? Instead of grabbing the foot to sustain the camera, correct? I have all the weight of the camera, and this case the C9 with the 800 millimeter on this handle, and the handle, because it's economical design, correct? It allows you to grab it very well, correct? And it's Arca Swiss, so it's very secure, right? So this allows me to do, obviously, over an extended period of time, to hold the 800 or the 600 TC, which carries some weight, to take some photos, okay? So I'm very happy with this solution that I found. Actually, at one point, I thought I was going to write to the real rice stuff manufacturer to see if they develop a product, but it turned out that a product existed. Okay, so these, so for this situation, actually good. I tried. I took some pictures, Jeff, and even with the 800 at 1/125 speed, which is nothing. And they were tack sharp, because as you get comfortable and you can hold steady your camera, obviously you can take advantage of the VR, and you can actually get to very low speeds. Okay?
I've used that trick, but with sticks and so. But then you have to be. It's always a gamble if you get any sharp one or not.
And I tell you, this thing is heavy. Sometimes they say, "Oh, my hand is hurting. I must have developed some arthritis." And no, you carry all that weight. And the other thing is, with the profile of this one, and I show it to you, is lower than the small rig, correct? The other one. So it allows you, because sometimes, as we know, we still need to operate. And you watch my finger here, the lens for manual focus, correct? If your focus will go back to the back and you want to bring it back, you may have to use the manual focus ring, correct? So this is close enough that I can still, I don't know if you can see it, I can still operate the focus ring with my finger, okay? So for me, this may not work for everybody, but for me, this worked very well, right? And so I wanted to pass it along, these two products. So let me go back here.
Operators are standing by.
Yeah. So the small rig, which is a fantastic, and I'm going to take this off as well, so I can show it to you. So it's a small rig, which is a fantastic handle.
Yep.
All right. And okay, so the small rig, let me take it off here. And that was so you can see this is the small rig one, right? And this is the Combate, which I never heard about the manufacturer, but I bought these two from B&H, correct? But you can see the distance between the handle, correct, and where the Arca Swiss attachment knob is smaller on this one than on the small rig, correct? So that's why this was the one I used to support the long telephoto. This is the one that I can use as a regular handle. Both of them have cold shoes at the top, and both of them have Allen key on the bottom so that you can adjust the height of.
And they have tapped holes on the top so you can add stuff.
Exactly.
For video.
For video stuff. So I mean, these are solutions these handles are made mostly for video, but I think for us, if we want to do low angle photography or holding the camera away from our body, having some extra stability sometimes allow macro photography. Luis, sometimes you have to get into a position where you cannot be exactly behind the camera, so having a stability is important. So I thought I'd share with you since this is something that I have been doing. So let's continue here.
It's costing me money. I'm gonna get the one for the.
I think they were about. I think they were. These were about $45 in B&H, $45-$50. I think that's what. So photo sharing, we didn't have that many photos to share.
I just mentioned something about gear before we go on the photo sharing, because since well, I had two flashes. I had that I used for many years. I had the old Godox, which I don't remember the name, but that didn't work properly with the Z8 or the Z9 or the Z50 for that matters. But always worked with the old gear. So with the D500, the 7100, all of that. So I always did macro with the D7100 until recently.
Yeah.
And then I decided to do macro with the Z52. And I could not get those flashes to work all the time properly. Every time I thought I got it, I know what to do, it would either overexpose or do whatever. So I could work on manual, which was always a bit of a pain, but ITTL never worked. And then I put the same flash, and that would be that older Godox and the SB900 from Nikon.
Okay.
The SB900 does not work properly with the Z8 or the Z system.
Okay.
And every once in a while, I thought, I've been to trips, and I said, now I know what I'm doing wrong, and it would not work. And I never understood why. Now I did a bit of research, and then I saw online a list of the flashes that do well. I don't have that list anymore. And the one that people said works always fine is the SB500, which is not produced anymore.
Okay.
And I've been looking for months. Occasionally, when I had the thought, oh, let's have a look if I can find a secondhand SB500. No, I finally managed to buy one in very good condition, and it just works. It works with the Z system. So I knew immediately that I wasn't doing anything wrong with the other. They just don't work properly, which is something I knew. But because I wanted to jump from the D7100 to the Z52, then I thought like I need to find a reliable. And that SB500 is very small. It's the smallest flash I ever had, but it just works great. Which is the old reviews of the SB500 for the F mount were always good, let's say.
Yeah.
And I can say, yeah, if you need, and it's even cheaper than all of the others.
I used to have that flash. I mean, now the only flash I have is the SB700, which I've tried a few times, but not a lot because I don't shoot a lot of flash. And it appeared to work okay, but I
don't know exactly what I found, but I knew the SB900 was not going to work all the time.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it was a site from Nikon that gave a list that those work and those don't work. And I can say the SB500 secondhand, cheap, and it works. So that's all I want to share. And because I do a lot of macro, and it's brilliant. It was really eye opener. Like, no, I wasn't doing anything wrong. It's just it's not compatible.
Well, particularly you have a lot of different generation of flashes, correct? You need to be able to pick the one that work.
Yeah, and because Nikon is not building any flashes anymore, and because of software issues or whatever, I wanted to buy a Nikon that would work, not to have I don't know, whatever type of flash, and then have to download software in case of firmware updates.
No, although I think they do have partnership with Profoto, correct? So in principle, but you know that Profoto is super expensive.
Yeah.
And then, but I think there are some Godox solutions that probably.
Oh yeah, I mean the new Godox will definitely work.
Exactly.
Absolutely. But I just wanted to have something small, something cheap to see if it would work, and it does work. So
and
I'm not buying anything anymore.
Sometimes Nikon USA sells refurb flashes too that you could get for a good price. So don't rule them out either, because I've seen some pretty good prices on SB500s and SB700s on the Nikon USA refurbished sales. So keep your eyes open there too.
Yeah.
And we got a couple of comments here, Luis, and I think Rasi saying that he's first commenting about my Franken monster. And then he's talking about the issue that you mentioned there with the.
Well, I did try that with the older Godox, and I did try to follow all the steps and everything, but it just never worked.
Okay.
By all means, I'm not the most computer-centric person in the world, but I just gave up after a while.
Yeah.
And because I was carrying the old camera for flash only, the thing is, sometimes I use field flash with the bigger lenses, but I'm doing that a bit less now. Having I was sometimes just using the manual mode and just playing out with the power.
Yeah, but they don't like to stay too long when you're fixing your manual power. Right?
No.
Yeah, the snake finally says, "I'm going to slither away," and
absolutely, no, that's it. I have to buy something that works all the time. And when I saw that there was one for secondhand, I thought, okay, I'll try that, and then it does work. So happy days.
The issue of the flash, I think we recognize that Nikon has to address it more properly, correct? Being more open to say, we're not going to the business. This is what we're going to go with Godox and Profoto, and you guys have to get it. And our products will be discontinued, and these are the products that work well. They have been a little bit cagey. I agree with you on the issue of the flash.
Well, they play the compatibility. They've done the compatibility stuff with the memory cards.
Yes.
You know, when the Z9 came out, and they said, you know, Delkin Black, this brand, that brand. This is what we recommend for our camera. And I wish they would do the same thing with flashes, because it isn't just Profoto. I mean, there are other flash manufacturers, Westcott. I happen to like the Westcott flashes. I've been thinking about buying one of them, and they have, you know, they supposedly have like a universal module that'll work with like all the cameras, except for Sony. You got to buy an adapter. You either buy an adapter for their base flash, or you can buy a dedicated Sony flash made by them. But anyway, you know, it'd not be nice to see a list of any flash manufacturer's flashes that are fully compatible with the Z series cameras, and have Nikon publish something, because that's probably where they really fell short, you know, in terms of people knowing what they could buy and not having some weird quirky thing happen, whether it be intermittently or they go to use a certain feature and it doesn't work on the camera. So that would be important for them to do.
I think so.
Nikon, you listening? Nikon, you listening?
So on the photo sharing, and Luis, you have something to share, for sure. We
have all kinds of things to share.
So here on the photo sharing, I still processing some of the photo from my recent visit to Moab, and so this is a panel taken with our the 24-120 very versatile lens, right, of the Fury Furnace area, lookout, and as I mentioned, we have luck and get excellent weather, so I so that one have some ideas. So hopefully I will make it to Moab shortly here. So another one of picture of the Fury Furnace closer by, in fantastic landscape conditions for beautiful skies, and later in the evening, later in the afternoon, uh, uh, when we were closer to sunset, and of course, taking some photo of the different arches. This arch to me looks like a head of a dinosaur. Right, this is
Yeah.
the skyline arch, correct? Which is one of the arches that are very accessible, but trying to here put the rocks here a little bit closer to the in the context of the vegetation. And here, as I was trying to do some night photography, obviously I watch a lot of sunset and sunrise. The night photography didn't work out that well, but the blue hour and the sunrise and sunsets were fantastic, right? So this is the so-called petrified dunes in Arches National Park. So I thought I was going to share some of that from you. So, but watch the space, because I'm going to try to make it again to do a couple of more experimenting with astro, but also to do some hiking in the area. All right. So on the uh, Luis, you want to show something here before we go?
Yeah, I'm going to have just see if I can quickly put something here.
Okay. Well, so in the meantime, we can do our YouTube segment. So kind of my
Very good.
recommendations.
Sure.
Yeah, I got a few pictures I'll share too as well.
Excellent. So our friend here, Mark Erwin, which is a friend to this channel, as Jeff mentioned, he had one of the early look on the new 24 to 120, and he described it here, as you can see, as a light, affordable, small lens. Very good review. I recommend it if you're interested on that lens to watch Matt on his. Now, Steve, which is another friend of this channel, and we are a fan of his show. It's he recently have a YouTube with excellent advice on things that habits that we wildlife photographers need to have, correct? And so Steve always provided with excellent advice. So you follow his his advice. That is fantastic. Then on the bottom here, I have Robert Silver photography. He made he put together an excellent video on the basically which camera you should use, either the CR or the C6 III, correct, depending on what is your preference for video or for equipment. So it's an excellent, well produced, well scripted video that you should watch if you are interested on this camera. And finally, I have here from Scott Key and his channel Wildlife Inspired. He actually tackled us, or he's tackling, because he promised to have some follow up on this one, the issue of sound for your cameras, correct? Because that to me has still is a mystery. Every time that I try to recommend to use sound, I'm never happy. I capture some his. It's never as clean as I wanted. So I think there is a lot to be learned about capturing sound, and Scott is basically making an effort. I'm passing some recommendations. So I do. So I can stop here and allow Luis or Jeff to chair, and then we come back to the rest of the show.
Okay. Let me just share screen. Just let me know if you can see something.
Not yet. We need to. Jeff, let me do it so that we don't.
Yeah, I'm answering a comment in the chat, so I'm or trying to answer a comment in the
Okay.
chat.
All right, so Luis, we can see it now.
We can see it. So this is a European hoopoe.
Yes, beautiful.
This is in Portugal. It was last year, October. And I remember on a different presentation, Gustavo, you asked me if these birds are becoming rare.
Yeah.
And they are indeed rare in Northern Europe, but in the south of Europe, they are still rather common. So that's why I show you this one. This one is just opposite the house of my sister in a park, it's looking for insects in the grass.
Yeah.
Did not care about me at all.
Wow.
I love the black banding on the top of the head. That's
I
great.
was trying to take a picture when he actually spreads the feathers on top, but it didn't work out. Maybe next time.
Wow.
And I was holding the camera really, really low.
Beautiful.
And so holding the lens by the foot, but down over the grass, and hoping to keep the bird on the screen, and then taking the pictures as it moved.
It's a beautiful species. Definitely one that one day I want to photograph.
Yeah. And this is also in October. And this is here European storm petrel, very small bird. I mean, what is it, like 15 centimeters? So that's 6 inches, well, half a foot. And they are very small. This is in a boat, so a pelagic tour. And they just look for food on the surface of the ocean.
Wow. I love the first one with the reflection in the distorted reflection in the wave. Incredible.
Yeah. So it's always a challenge to try to get a picture from the top with the spread wings from the top and also from underneath.
Yeah.
And but they are very fast. I mean, you make you just save like 1% of the pictures that you take. But today's tracking is really very good. So you see they go on top of the water, looking for something to. I think you can see he's aiming for this little thing here on the surface.
Exactly, insects and stuff.
Yeah. So that's all I have. This for now. Otherwise, I have no pictures to send in 2 weeks' time. So
yeah, no, thank you. Those are beautiful. I mean, incredible photos of these petrels.
yeah, and they breed in the north of Europe, and in Portugal you see them from, let's say, September, October onwards when they're not breeding, and then they add up to the British Isles, to I think Norway. So they breed up in Northern Europe.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
They're doing, it's like they could do tap dancing on the waves there.
Yeah, there are several species of storm petrels in Portuguese waters, also in the islands, like in the Canaries that belong to Spain, Madeira, and the Azores. There are several species. So this is one of the most common ones. But you have other species if you go to the Atlantic, more into the Atlantic Ocean.
So, and I presume Martin was referring here to the hoopoes. Okay.
Let's have a look.
Yeah. He's saying that they are very skittish here, so I presume that he's referring to the hoopoes. But indeed,
yeah, the hoopoes are like this. It depends where they live. If you find them in more rural settings, they are very skittish. But the ones that live in parks or in towns, they really don't care. I was really surprised, but anyway, but he was really looking at me and like, okay, I keep on eating.
Yeah. So Jeff, do you have anything to share?
I just got a couple that I just grabbed. Let me. Give me a second.
Oh, beautiful.
So this was, lots of times when I'm a morning shooter. I got some friends, they always shoot late afternoon. They'll go out shooting at 4 or 5 o'clock. But of course, depending on whether you're in a botanical gardens or depending on where you're in, they kick you out. They open late and they kick you out early. So at the park, they don't kick you out too early. But I mean, I call this like a salvage. I'm going to call this a salvage shot because as the day goes on, it gets really bright. This would look horrible if it wasn't black and white. And sometimes it's interesting where you could just grab a couple shots of something that catches your eye, and you either shoot it in black and white or you convert it to black and white and you tweak it a little bit, and you can end up with an interesting image. So it's just my way of kind of saying, hey, don't give up sometimes just because maybe you stayed a little longer than normal and you say, I got to run home. Look at taking some pictures with the mindset that you're going to convert them to black and white and tweak them a little bit when you get home. And sometimes you end up with something that's halfway decent, that you like.
Exactly.
So that's that one. And I got one more.
Beautiful.
It's that time of year when
that one.
Nice.
it's that time of year when we have the mergansers hanging out, and this is the female. And like I said, I'm not going to dig up a whole bunch of them here, but I figured I'd share this one. I really like this. It was the light was just starting to light up on this particular side of the pond, which is stays in shade the longest because the light is going above the tree line, and it's basically lighting up what's on the opposite side of the pond. And until the sun gets really high, you don't really have any light in this area. But if you're patient and you wait, eventually, you can do well. And what's nice is that on one side of the pond, the mergansers will hang out, and much less so on the opposite side. So you have to just realize that you're going to be waiting a little while before you can, capture the image. But it's worth it.
Yeah. No, you definitely love all these sticks and reflections at the top. It framed the picture very nicely.
Yeah. And the reflection is beautiful.
And the reflection, and remember we were talking about always the reflection, and that sometimes confuses the camera because, as you can see here, the reflection has more contrast than the actual animal, correct?
Yeah.
And that is because that reflected light is probably partially polarized.
Polarized, yeah.
It's easy for the camera to focus on that partially polarized reflected light. But no, great.
If that happens, and I learned on this channel, I have a button to choose the next eye.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, the reflections really sometimes your camera starts jumping between the reflection and the actual.
I had in Portugal like a duck and an ibis that I was photographing, and ibis and another bird. Anyway, I was focused on the ibis, and then a duck passes in front, and the nicest picture of the ibis is focused in the duck. Because it picked up that eye on that particular picture, and I go like, my God, damn, sorry. Anyway, I went upstairs to look for this is the Peak Design backpack that I said that it can open completely on the side.
Let me see if I can put you big.
Well, yeah, we can make it big. We can make it big.
So it goes like this. You're wearing it on both sides, and then if I do this from one side, I can open it completely like that.
They call that a sling. Isn't that what they call that? A sling backpack?
Well, I don't know, but it's the only one I found. I went to a store here where they have a lot of outdoor gear, and I explained it to them, there was nothing. And you know, you can put like a bottle here on this side, but the bottle, I put it that way, but you can put the bottle or whatever, I even put like the flash here,
Okay.
but still you can slide it open just next to it.
Okay.
And with all other backpacks, generally, the zip just stops there on top and doesn't continue.
Exactly. So you can.
So I use this one very often. I just carry it very light, very often with just a gear. I mean, with a lens, a camera inside, and then here on the sides and here in the front, I put like a torch, a flash, and on the other side, I can put another lens if I want, or just a bottle of water. So I carry this as a secondary camera or lens for a particular situation if I need, and I carry my lens and the other camera in my hands if I want. But this one, which is like the backpack, that is pretty much empty except that I have a lens and a camera, my secondary one. But if something happens, I just take this one shoulder, get that, and then I get him out.
Exactly. And sometimes that's what it takes. You have to take the camera quickly out of the bag, right? And if you put it in the ground and all that, the animal will go.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just to show it's, I was trying to get, because I sometimes, like I said, I carry two backpacks. I have the mind shift, the strap that goes on the side, and I use that, and I put that one on top of this one, so if you know what I mean.
Exactly. Wow.
I'm just making difficult for myself, but anyway, that's the way it goes.
That's what it takes. All right, Jeff. So let's go back to the regular display.
Oh yeah, and this one I think is a 25 liter one. If you look for it, you'll find it. 25 liter.
It's not the to carry all your equipment, but to carry some of the equipment.
So exactly, yeah.
Exactly. All right. So the other thing is, as we were talking about setup and software update, our friend here, Steve Perry, has basically updated the what he called the C8 and C9 setup guide. So one thing that Steve has been extremely good is that for all his customers that have bought his setup guide, every time there is a new firmware version, he will, within a month or less, he will go and update that, and for free to everybody that bought his setup guide, you will get an update. And many of us who have used his setup and we use his PDF, it's a tremendous. I actually used his PDF instead of searching in the Nikon manual, which I also have on my iPad. But if I want to check something quickly, how it works, and if something that something that he may have touched because it's wildlife related, I type on the PDF auto capture and I go to the appropriate channel. And every time that there is an update, Steve will release a new firmware, and everybody that is in the email list that bought the product before will get an update. And actually, this is the email that I got, and I updated all the software that I have for him regularly.
Yeah, when he sent me the email, because I have this guide as well, I had bought two other two other books from him, ebooks from him, and I said, I might as well check on these. I might be behind, and I was. So I ended up updating all three. But it's great that it's great that you buy it once, and as Gustavo says, as firmware comes out and features get added, you don't pay extra. You could just go there and download a new copy, and it doesn't cost you a nickel. So kudos to Steve for doing that. And of course, we all love the guy. All us wildlife guys love the guy. So great job, Steve, and keep it up.
Exactly. So we're getting close to the end of the show. So let's talk about the upcoming show. So there is no surprises on when the new shows are going to happen. We may still do the occasional one or that different to our normal schedule, but actually I'm quite happy that we have a good set of shows and presentation coming up, correct? So this is our current calendar. If there is any modification to the calendar, we will let you know so that all the regular here can keep. But actually, the next two show as it stand today, they are supposed to occur in their traditional day, correct? So we will have, of course, the upcoming image review on February the 7th, correct?
Yep.
And
Start sending me pictures.
exactly. He doesn't have the pictures, so please do that. And then on the February general meeting Saturday show, the third Saturday of the month, we already have a presentation about videography and using the hybrid camera from Joy Hubert, okay, called Shooting Hybrids on a Fly with one camera. You know, he is very good at his production of his videos that he does commercially, but I think we can all learn how to do better videos for those that us that do it occasionally, correct? So that will happen in a Saturday, February 21st. Then we will have our image review that happened to happen in March 7th. Okay. And then for the general meeting at this moment, correct, on the Saturday, which will be Saturday, March 21st, we have a presentation by our friend here, Luis, on Morocco. Okay. Exactly. Searching, which he titled Searching for Wildlife, Sahara, and the Atlas Mountain. And he told us already that the presentation is ready. So although this is scheduled for March, watch the space. We'll let you know if we reschedule it for another time. But at this moment, it's scheduled for March 21st. Now,
Let me know because it's going to be at 3 o'clock in the morning here. So I need to know on time.
exactly. So we always give you Luis, seriously. That's what I offer you. We always can do the things on a more friendly time for you. You are the presenter. Jeff and I make a lot of effort. If you're going to make the effort to make a presentation, we will accommodate our community and ourselves around you because we know what it takes to make this presentation.
We'll wait until February to see. Let's not decide now.
Exactly. But at this moment, this is the schedule, correct?
Sure.
So for those presentations, we already have the thumbnails and the promotion, the promotion title pages for this. So this is Mr. Joy here on his videography shooting.
He does exist. He does exist.
So that definitely will happen because it's in Canada. So that definitely will happen Saturday 21st at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which will be on 7 p.m. on Calgary time for him. All right. So looking forward to these presentations. Again, branching again, a little emphasis on photography. See, we all have a lot to learn how to do this. Okay. And then, of course, we talk about Luis. So this is the thumbnail for Luis' presentation, currently scheduled for March 21st, also at the regular time. And he's Luis, you can tell us something about, give us a teaser, probably less cryptic than the one that we get from Sanjit, but how did you end up photographing there in Morocco?
Well, I was asked, so I went to Morocco last October, and I was asked in August if I wanted to go by one of my Spanish friends, because he knows a few Portuguese birders in Portugal. There is a small community of Portuguese and Spanish birders that know themselves that know each other in the south of Portugal. So I did not know who the group was, but we ended up going 7 of us, 2 Spanish and 5 Portuguese, and I had to do a lot of shift changes in order to be free for that period. It was the very first time I went on an organized birding tour.
Okay.
I normally organize things myself, which is the way I like, because it's then I can go into something else, and I'm not the typical birder because I like macro and I like other things. So anyway, So we met in Marrakesh. We all arrived on the same day. I was the first one in on the flight from Amsterdam. One of the Spanish guys was my friend that came from Madrid like an hour later. And then we waited another hour for the rest of the group. And much to my surprise, I've met all the Portuguese once before, just meeting them on the field.
Oh my God!
Just birding in Portugal. Well, I saw them one by one coming. It's like, I know you. I've seen you before, and they were actually, yeah. So it's a small world, and actually, three of them were having the same discussion on the way down there. Like, is this the one that we met that lives in the Netherlands? And it was me. So it was quite funny that I knew from the 7, I knew 6 of them, only one Spanish guy, a very friendly person, I did not know. So there was a guide arranged, minibus, and we went there for, I think that the Portuguese group was there for I think 6 days only, which I thought was too short. So I extended with this other friend for 2 extra days because we were the odd ones that were not flying together to Lisbon. So we stayed for 2 extra nights. We ended up spending 2 extra nights with the same guide because he said, I have to go to Agadir anyway. So he took us and we went back by taxi. And he guided us on the dunes. And I've been there also a few years ago with my wife and my 2 kids. And because Morocco is not that far from Spain and Portugal, but having a completely different landscape, is also very popular with people with motorcycles. They just go there to enjoy the wider plains and the dunes, and so I was surprised how many Portuguese and especially Spanish and even French people that you actually see there, because Morocco is not that far from Europe. So a lot of people, well, not a lot, but many people just go with their own car and just go to the desert.
Wow!
So it was a very interesting experience. And so I saw a lot of birds, a few reptiles. I was the only one searching for snakes. I ended up being the only one not seeing one.
Oh my
But
God!
that's the way it works, you know. I mean, a snake crosses, goes into one or the other bush, like when everybody else sees, and they call me, and by the time I get there, snake is gone, and they cannot explain who or what. And I was like, you guys really know where it went? No, they could not. No.
Well, I'm sure that we're going to see wonderful pictures, and we're looking forward to your
That's
presentation,
it.
which
Yeah.
is currently scheduled in March 21st. But we may surprise you and do it another special presentation at another time. All right. So the next thing, and we're just getting close to this, is so we have some other ideas and topics in the pipeline. Um, I think our friend Bob or Robert Rosado is thinking about part of the astrophotography series do a presentation on line painting. That's to be determined when we're going to do that. And Luis, uh, Anita is avid traveler to Portugal and all the islands.
I've seen her pictures and I recognize a few places. It was really fun to see last time.
Yeah.
So I think she's going to make she's going to make a special presentation with all her travel in Portugal. She loves to travel, particularly during this time of the year when the tourist season is not so heavy and a little bit quieter. So,
Sure.
so for sure, this will be interesting to see basically Portugal being photographed from a Canadian perspective.
Mhm.
So that's what we have. Obviously, again, please do start sending your photos to Jeff. It's never too early, correct?
Never too early.
I'm sure that we have 0 so far, but or maybe Bob already has contributed a few. But please do, including me, start sending your photos again, preferably early on, but preferably before midday February the 6th, correct? Send your text also to selectiveibery1@gmail.com and get ready. And with that, we finish the show for today.
Yeah, and we now kind of like up the ante a little bit for those that if they you want somewhere special, you want to share a few more images, we will accept up to 10 images per person. You know, I mean, some people send in 1, some people send in 4. You send in what you can, but if you got, you know, some stuff that you're like really like, oh man, I hit the jackpot that time when I went to such and such a place and I got some great shots, and you want to share 10 images, you can share 10 images. I mean, we typically average, we typically end up with a range between 70 and 90 is kind of like where we fall when we do a show, and we will stay on as long as it could be. If I had 200 pictures, then I might be on till 3 a.m. I don't care. I'll show 200 pictures, but I'd really like to see pictures from folks who have thought about it but never done it, because we don't critique your images unless you request it. It's more important that we just see your journey, and we have had, myself included, my photography has improved greatly since my involvement with YouTube and sharing and learning from other people and learning from other photographers. And I think there's a lot of us that have learned something from each of us, and that's what makes the shows special, is that we're all willing to share, and then we get exposed to genres of photography that maybe we haven't typically shot, and then we get a little interest in trying something different, and maybe somebody gets out and picks up a macro lens and starts taking pictures of insects or flowers or whatever, and they hadn't done that before. So it's all about sharing knowledge, sharing images, and try to get people, as I say, off the couch, away from the television set, get out there, blow off the dust off your camera, like Gustavo just did with his Nikon F3 HP, and clean it up, and hey, throw a roll of film in there, buddy, and take a few pictures and see how it comes out. Yeah. Come on, I won't break the bank. It won't break the bank. One roll.
Yeah, that's the ultimate test.
One roll.
When I finish cleaning it up and getting all the seals, then I throw a roll of slides and prove to myself that I prefer to use digital and the modern camera.
There you go.
You could send in, well, let's put it this way. You could send in any kind of images that are tasteful. I mean, we don't do risque or nude photography or anything like that. But, I mean, if it's images from a trip, family images, special events, macro, astro, wedding. I'd like to see some wedding images, but, unfortunately, all the wedding photographers are out shooting usually when we have the show. So we don't really get too many wedding shots, but portrait photography is great. Street photography, wildlife, nature. I mean, you name it, we want to show it. So whatever you have that you feel good about, that you like and want to share, send them in. Yep. Black and white photography, infrared photography. Believe me, we've had a lot of variety, and a lot of us do shoot wildlife. So you may see more wildlife.
Those there.
Than you want. These two guys. Wait, these guys. Wait.
Only those. Only them.
But we get a comment sometimes. You guys only show bird pictures. It's like, we only show what we get. You want to see something different, then send in your images that are different, and we'd be more than happy to show them. So don't shoot the messengers. We just show what people send us, and you want to see more street photography and you shoot street photography, send in your images, and we'd be more than happy to share them with everybody. I mean, Rakesh takes some nice street photography images that he has sent in on the show, and so there's no limit. It just has to be stuff that's in good taste. Nothing like I mentioned earlier, and will be good. And obviously, if I get something that
you won't show it.
A little too much, I'm going to weed it out. I'm not going to put it on the show. So that's my editorial
prerogative.
Where the rubber meets the road. Some stuff may get put aside, but I've never had that happen. So I don't test me. Don't test me. Don't surprise me. So that's it. I think we're done.
We're done. Thank you, guys.
A special thank you for everybody that came in on the panel, and obviously a thank you for those of you that came in on the chat, and a super thank you to Sanjitpaal Singh
and Mark
and Mark for supporting him and coming on the show. And it was a great, fantastic presentation. And like I said, it was kind of joyful and sad at the same time. You know, I mean, a roller coaster ride. It got to me when I saw his slides prior to him doing the presentation, like, you know, a few days before or what have you. And I kind of knew who the monster was. I mean, it usually ends up being people. But wonderful job, and so we hope that he thinks of us when he does a part 2 and comes and shares that part 2 with us. I'm sure he will, and I think, you know, Luis has done some great presentations as well as Gustavo on the show, and I can't thank, you know, these guys enough. And it really it's about, the show is about anybody and everybody that has a passion for photography. And if you're one of those people,
You're welcome.
Join us. You are welcome. You will be embraced. You will not be insulted. We don't put up with that kind of stuff. And we just want to share and enjoy each other's company and each other's images. And so join the crew. And until next time, Gustavo and I will think about the future Wednesday shows down the road, and we will try to work on a few people that might do a show on a Wednesday once in a while. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, we keep.
We have a few people in the pipeline that we're going to work over.
You need more than one European to
yes,
make it work.
Yes.
Right,
we're not singling out any one person. At least 2 or 3 that I can think of. At least.
Yeah, at least.
That's good. So let's see, and we keep you informed. But I think we have another successful. Now we can go back to sleep or eat or
or
get ready for the rest of your day.
Exactly.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody.
Okay.